What's up, guys? Luca here, Luca Teal, back after my little outing last week. I hung out with my sister, got super drunk. It was actually okay. Here's the thing, right? I paid for bottomless mimosas, and I only need one drink to get drunk, right? But it would
A
have been a
thimble,
waste of money.
a
Okay,
thimble
it
of
would
alcohol.
it would have been it would have been a waste of money if I only had the one drink, right? So I went a little overboard. I had five. And not just of the mimosa. I think I had like five, or I'm sorry, three mimosas and then two other alcoholic beverages, right, bro? I was like a
Shout
little
out
bit,
to your sister for getting you pissy drunk. It's pretty
yeah,
funny.
like it was bad. She was like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, yeah.
Oh, with the are you okay after being the catalyst for it all?
But
That's
it was
funny.
great. We did this thing called Buffy the Vampire Experience. Buffy
Is
the
she a fan
Vampire
too?
Slayer experience. Yeah, actually, my brother and my sister are both fans of Buffy the Vampire Slayer because of me. When I remember my mom used to give me like $150, right, every 2 weeks to babysit my siblings when we were kids, and like I
Mm-hmm.
would spend that money when we weren't going outside. I would take that money and I would just go to Best Buy and buy the box sets of like TV shows because back when physical media was still like a major thing, right?
Yeah.
So I bought like all of Supernatural. I bought all of Buffy. I bought all of Smallville. I bought all of Charmed. And like that's what we spend our time doing. So even though my siblings are like they're older Gen Zs, right? Like they're at the cusp of being millennials, older Gen Z, right? you know
Mm-hmm.
we spent our time together just watching those shows. So my sister was like, hey, I'm going to this Buffy experience with my friend, do you want to go? I'm like, oh, it's kind of last minute. She was like, it's cool, we can go next weekend. I was like, all right, bet. And I went, and it was a great time. It was very cool. There was like replicas of Buffy's grave, of Spike's crypt. They had a replica of Buffy's crossbow. They had like blood bag alcoholic beverages, and there was food, and it was really, really good actually. I was kind of like about the menu, but then like the food was actually fucking delicious. So it was a good time. It was about $110 overall, and I really feel like I got my money's worth. So if you're in Chicago, Buffy the Vampire Slayer experience. I think it's every year, so during October, so maybe look into that. But yeah, so that's what I did last weekend. I was guys, it was bad. Like I got home, I showered, I laid that. I laid down. I didn't mean to fall asleep. I fell asleep. I woke up because of my 5:50 alarm for the show, and I was like, "Oh, I'm not doing this show today. There's nothing to talk about, and I'm too woozy to get up." So I hit up Singer like, "You good?" He was like, "Girl, go back to bed." He's like, "Are you
Mm-hmm.
good?" Is a real question. I'm like, "All right, cool." Talk to Slomo. I was like, "I'm I'm not getting up," and then I just went back to sleep. So, but yeah, so that's pretty much what I did last weekend. But I'm back this weekend. There were so many things that happened this week. So many interesting things. Firewalk Studios, is RIP to them. And then also the Horizon Zero Dawn remaster came out. I'm not gonna lie, guys, that shit looks pretty good. It looks really good, actually. Like because at first I was like, damn, how can they make it look any better? Because Horizon Zero Dawn has always been a graphical showcase, right? It's always been very beautiful, a very beautiful game. But like, yeah, no, they really hit it out of the park, right? So, and then the Dragon Age, the Veilguard came out. I put in about 10 hours in the game. And I also, we're going to talk about the reviews, and we're going to talk about the review process. We're going to talk about the sales as well, like and we're also going to discuss, how I think that there was a lot leading into this game that people got wrong, and how I feel like it was kind of I feel like a lot of it could have been avoided with like people were very staunchly declaring that this game would be a failure, that it would not sell at all, that it wouldn't review well, and that it wouldn't review well with gamers either. So there's been a lot of mixed perspectives on this, and we'll touch on the perspectives that are a little more hostile, and then we'll discuss the perspectives that are I feel like are fair. And then we'll talk about the distinction between people who I feel are grifting versus people who have genuine criticism and who I don't have a problem with them. I mean, generally speaking, I don't have a problem with people's opinions, But I do have an issue when
They have
people
to
are
be authentic opinions and not like
yes.
what they really feel, and not like they're basically trying to create narratives because essentially they're bigots and they don't want this game to be successful for various reasons, but all those reasons are really kind of based in their own bigotry and not for, the I'm just trying to inform the public kind of bullshit that they tell themselves.
Yeah, so there's a lot that goes into it. So Somo and I will take point in that conversation, because I don't believe that Singer's all that interested in Dragon Age.
I actually am. I
Oh,
just
you are? Are you
yeah, I
just
played all the other Dragon Ages. It's
really?
just yeah. I even went back to replay them. Like I modded the hell out of Dragon Age Origins and Dragon
Gotcha.
Age 2. And playing those games modded is mandatory because it's so fucking rough.
Oh,
Unless
you
you get
plan
the
on
mods in.
checking this out or just waiting for it or
Yeah,
just no? Yeah? Okay.
yeah, I plan on checking it out, but the problem is like so many games are releasing. Like I'm
That's
currently
true.
like stuck between Metaphor because I'm still playing that because I had an
True.
excursion. So I haven't
Yeah.
been here for the past couple of days
How
to
far are
play
you in
games.
Metaphor?
I don't know. I'm probably like 30 hours in.
Oh,
Something.
okay, so you got a
It's
ways to
still.
go.
Yeah, you got a
I got a
long way to
ways to
go.
go, but also I get sidetracked because everyone wants to play Black Ops, so we all jump on with the boys, play some Black Ops. Double
Very
XP weekend.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
I get
can you
that.
guys actually give your perspective on the Black Ops? Because that would have been one of the topics, well, probably like the only topic from last week. But if you guys want to talk about it, because I know that Slomo played with some of our friends and some of his friends, and then Singer, if you want to give your perspective
Oh,
too.
yeah, it's gonna be a fun time. But yeah, I have total interest in Dragon Age, but it's like I don't have the time right now because I need to finish up Metaphor. Then I got other stuff going on, and I got Black Ops. So I'm just kind of like, okay, let me finish this, and then Dragon Age. I could probably wait for either a sale next year or something, because
Understandable.
Stalker 2 comes out, and then I mean I might have a chance in December because I'm not gonna play Indiana Jones. I'm gonna keep it real with you. That's like a that's a wait till a dry month type of thing. So
Okay.
I mean, yeah, I'll probably play Dragon Age in like December because I'll have it finished, Metaphor finished, like next week or something. So yeah.
Okay, well, I do want to say this before you guys get into it. I did beat Metaphor 81 hours in 2 weeks. Crow was like, yeah, that's fucking nuts, Luca. That's insane. And you know what? It is pretty crazy. I didn't really think about it until Crow was like, that's pretty insane. And I was just like, you know what? But it checks out because let me tell y'all what I was doing. I was not living how I speak. Okay. I was staying up late. I know, Samo. I know. I was staying up late playing this game, okay? I was skipping out on meals to play this game, okay? Now, the one thing I did not skip out on, I still worked out, but I was so tired from not sleeping and not eating properly that my workouts were they as effective as they usually are? No. Okay? But I will say this, I've been in a little bit of a calorie deficit. Okay, so that's been fun. All right, it's crazy how calorie deficits actually fucking work. That's actually like the science behind that shit is crazy, right? But anyway, so even though like sleep and uh valid nutrition are very essential for a healthy weight loss, I was I was in a calorie deficit because of y'all I was tripping, but the gameplay was just so addicting. The voice acting so good, the story, yeah, pretty good. I would say pretty good. I have like one or two nitpicks, maybe 3 or 4 nitpicks, right? But overall, I really enjoyed my experience with it. I really enjoyed my time with it. Like, okay, I will say it, one of my biggest nitpicks was that I just had a very difficult time taking the adults in this game seriously. Why are you, as a 40-year-old man, looking for affirmations from an 18-year-old? Okay, does that even make any fucking sense? Okay, like, does that even make any fucking sense? Like, okay, the only listen, whatever, right? But it is what it is. Great game overall. The end game, I don't know. and the game a little shaky. Okay. I felt like very stressed, but I felt stressed in a way that I don't think I feel stressed with Persona. Because with Persona, I was able to knock out those dungeons 1 or 2 days, 1 or 2 days. Uh, because that's like I'm just used to playing Persona like that, right? With this, I was like, oh, bitch, I gotta come back. I gotta leave it. I come back. I was actually watching a review of this. This guy was saying the game was too easy. I was like, man, you must be like a master gamer or something, right?
He's
Because
playing on easy.
he said he played on hard, and I was like, all right, man,
All right, need some gameplay.
I mean, yeah,
I'm at the point now where I deal with people capping about the. I don't know why everyone needs to pretend like they're like this master at games, but they never show gameplay ever. The people who do all that have never have a gameplay clip of any game that they're playing. So, and I'm like, at this point, I'm just like, it's all cap until you show me.
I mean, I feel like that's very valid. I understand that for sure. But I was like, oh, okay, man. Like, yeah, some of his complaints, he was like, yeah, he said MP was never an issue for him. I was like, stop the cap.
He ain't play the game.
Cap.
No.
Stop
see, they always tell on themselves. They always tell on themselves.
I was like, what are you talking about? Like, what? But whatever. Anyway, great game.
MP wasn't Luca. MP wasn't an issue for him in the game because he didn't play it. So how could he have an MP problem?
I don't know. I think he played it. I believe him. I'm trying to remember.
I think he watched somebody play it.
I think his name's Ratataskar. I think he's an Elden Ring content creator, right? So I was just like, oh, okay. Like I was like, stop the cap, but whatever, right? It is what it is. There were definitely people in the comments like, hold on. But he also said
MP wasn't an issue. Come on now.
He also said that he is a Shin Megami Tensei fan, and those games are brutal. So actually, I do kind of believe him because I remember I was talking to Lino about this. I was like, that is a game I don't think I'll ever play. That shit is too hardcore for me. So, like that series. So I don't know, whatever, right? But anyway, I beat the game 2 days before the Veilguard dropped. So, I had some time to sleep and recover, and I'm actually pacing myself with this game. I was like, I can't spend another 2 weeks living that lifestyle, dude. It's not good for me. So, beat the game, but go ahead, give your COD impressions, guys. Thoughts?
You want to go first?
I'll go first. I haven't played the campaign yet, although I intend to play and beat the campaign eventually. This is also kind of goes into something that I mentioned earlier in previous episodes. That I was a bit disappointed that they did not stagger the release like they had been doing the past couple years. Because I definitely would have played the campaign already if it wasn't essentially like coming out and available at the same time as everything else. The multiplayer is what I'm far more interested in, and that's what I've been playing. And the multiplayer is really good. Like the Omni movement has been well marketed by Activision. It is good. It is implemented well. I don't think it is like game changing in the sense that like it changes how COD plays. It's an added wrinkle to the gameplay. Like if you have mastered COD movement in general with slide canceling and that kind of movement, then you're still it is done well in Black Ops 6, and I would say just as good as Modern Warfare 3 and way better than Modern Warfare 2. But the Omni movement is like you're not using it in every single gunfight, one-on-one gunfight engagement. It's something that can be used if you've mastered it and if it's become second nature to you, to kind of give you an upper hand in some situations, especially against people who are just not as good. And so there is that. I think the guns are okay. I actually kind of feel like the guns in the the past two Modern Warfare games are better. But I do like I would say like some of the maps are good. Some of the maps are abysmal, but that's COD. I've been enjoying it though. I've been enjoying. I like the play of the game more than the final kill, which is how a lot of the other games, the Modern Warfare games ended, and It's just been generally just fun overall. I'm having a good time with it. Got but it's typical COD because skill-based matchmaking is still an issue. It's very, very strict. When I play by myself, I am basically I feel like every other match I'm reporting somebody because it's just like, bro, what are you doing? Like people, like I got the ninja perk on, footsteps silenced. I come up behind somebody, I look at they whip around, kill me, instant headshot kill, and I'm like, I look at the replay, and it's no way. It's no way you knew when I slid around that corner behind you that I was there. It's just there's a lot going on. It's a lot. Or I'm watching people in the kill cam track my movement through walls, and then shoot me as soon as I hit a corner. Like clearly you got wall hacks on. And as usual, all the Call of Duty studios and Activision are just behind the 8 ball when it comes to stopping the cheaters. But it's not a consistent thing. I do think that it's better played in groups and parties of people that you enjoy playing games with, because you can have a good time talking with your friends, and if you got friends of various different skill levels, it just seems like the skill-based matchmaking system just gives up and just puts you in whatever. It's just because, I mean, at least for me, it's just like it becomes a bit more manageable for me. But yeah, I think that's about it. I mean, it's clearly being very successful for them. Xbox and Activision have come out and they have said a lot about how much the game is being played, its engagement in Game Pass, how much it's selling on all the platforms, and that's great. You always want to see games be successful. COD is successful financially every year anyway, so it's not like that's a shocker. But yeah, I think that's all I got. It's more COD, and I'm enjoying it.
Oh, Slow-mo, I think what you're seeing when some people, it looks like they can see you through walls, it's because they have the recon combat speciality where you could see through walls for a short time after respawning.
But this isn't like after somebody just respawned though. Like
okay.
that recon perk turns on for like 2 seconds as soon as you respawn. It is broken, and they're probably going to nerf it because a lot of people are complaining about it.
Gonna have to
because it's basically it's basically allowing people to. It's like a 2-second wall hack after you respawn.
Yeah, it's pretty busted.
But if someone's like running around and in the kill cam, you can see if someone has recon on. Because I've seen it. I've seen in people's kill cam that they briefly had recon on when before they killed me. In that situation, that guy didn't have recon on. He just somehow whipped around and just immediate aim for the headshot. In those cases, I report people and then I let Activision sort them out.
My experience on it is I echo a lot of Slow-mo sentiments. Skill-based matchmaking is a crazy thing. Although I do like how you could just level everything up in zombies. Like guns that I find difficult to level up in multiplayer. I'm like, cool. Let me just go into zombies. And I'll just level these guns up. Because zombies can't wall hack me. They can't spawn kill me, it's just train, do what you normally do. The zombies is actually really, really good. It's a return to form to zombies. Huge fan. But for the multiplayer, I mean, half the maps are ass. Half the maps are, well, good to middling at best. Like, some maps are just absolutely don't. And they just released Nuketown, which is as crazy as Nuketown is. If you want to ruin your KD, if you care about your KD, stay away from Nuketown because if you're going mad positive in Nuketown, you are just clearly better than everyone else in there because you'll just get randomly spawn killed all over the place. Like you just put up like a mine at your spawn and then you just randomly get a kill because someone just spawned there. The guns, I actually quite like a lot of the guns. Like a lot of
What's
the
your favorite
guns.
gun?
Currently, right now, it is the AK. Because when you
Okay.
get the recoil springs attachment for the AK, like the
Hmm.
recoil becomes a hell of a lot less. It's so good. It feels so good. Um, the other gun is the LQ, whatever the hell it is, that LQ something. Another assault rifle. Because I'm an assault rifle user for the most part. I know SMGs, whatever. But yeah,
Actually think the game is strong on assault rifles right now. So
yeah. I
look
mean,
at that.
I've always been a fan of assault rifles more than SMGs, but I'll just go with whatever gives me the best chance of winning. But yeah, it's overall my favorite map would have to be, I don't know, what is a good map? I don't know, maybe as much as I hated Babylon in the beta, it's actually one of the better maps compared to
I
some
like
things like.
Skyline.
Yes,
Skyline is not.
Skyline's a good map, but then
Yeah.
you have shit like Lowtown or whatever it is, um, and then you have Red Card, um, which I'm kind of not a fan of because there's just way too many lines of sight. You just get popped all over the place. But yeah, overall, I mean, it's fun. I haven't played COD since Black Ops 3, so I mean, I'm back and it's actually fun. So well done, Treyarch. That's why they're my favorite developers of COD.
Sweet. I'm glad you guys are enjoying yourself. Awesome. All right. What's up, troll? Okay. Let's see here. That's actually not true. The companions do talk to one another, but that's okay.
It's hard to be able to be accurate with what a game does or doesn't do when you don't own the game and you have no intention of playing it. So
Yeah. All right.
Oh man.
Okay. So let's see here. Okay, let's talk about Dragon Age the Veilguard and the reviews, right? I put, let's see here, Dragon Age the Veilguard. So Dragon Age the Veilguard is currently on Metacritic, aka everyone's least favorite website when it comes to tracking reviews. Currently, it is for all platforms at 25 critic reviews, PC 79, 52 critic reviews, PS5 84, 5 critic reviews, Xbox 93. For user reviews, it's at 2,915 for user reviews. It's at a 3.7. All right. I haven't bothered to look through the reviews because I figured this game would be review bombed, given the controversy surrounding it. So on Steam, the game, let's see here, Dragon Age the Veilguard. For Steam, the game sits at a, what is it? A mostly positive, I believe.
Yeah, it's mostly positive on Steam. I think it's 78% of the like 5,000. Well, I saw 5,700 Steam reviews. 78% of those were positive.
It's
All right.
76 now.
Okay, 76.
So
Yeah,
I think it was like because of there's like negative reviews and the positive reviews, so it's sitting at a mostly positive, so at a C on Steam, right? And I think the last time I checked, it was like at like 8,000. Okay, so yeah, it's at 8,651. 76% of the 8,651 user reviews for the game are positive. So it's sitting at a mostly positive on Steam. It was sitting at number 1 on Steam for the top sellers, and then it's currently, I believe it's at number 3 or 4. And then when the game launched, it was like at 50,000 for gamers when it first launched. It launched at 11 a.m. Central Time. So, a lot of us were still at work because some of us have jobs where we have to leave the house. But later on that night, I think it got up to like 70,000. And then during the weekend, it's been around 80,000 for people playing it, right? So it's been a very, I would say, positive release. in spite of some of the negativity surrounding it. There's been a lot of discourse around this game the last 2 months, and really it all stems from the RPG maker, right? So BioWare showed off their RPG, and for some of the people who got the chance to play it, right, there is an option in the RPG like character creator where you can have your character choose to have a top surgery scars. So that's when if someone has like breast cancer, or if someone is trans and they go through the surgery, they can have their breast removed, right? So BioWare included that option, and ever since they included that option, people have lost their fucking minds. And people who I thought were, I'm like, okay, I thought you were maybe a little bit reasonable about this, have just started acting completely irrational, and everyone jumped to the conclusion that the game would fail solely because of this option, right? Now, even though there were things to the contrary, like I'll give an example. When the reviewers went out to play the game, I was shocked that some of the reviewers were like, "Hey, this is like it's pretty okay. Like I enjoyed myself. I had a good time with it. I'm like, I'm kind of positive about it." And I was really surprised about that, given how like for years, ever since Anthem, I was like, BioWare is dead, and the next Dragon Age game is going to be a fucking failure. It's going to be a flop, and it's because of Anthem being a complete and total failure, and then Andromeda just being meh for a lot of people. I liked Andromeda, okay, I never finished it, but the characters weren't memorable. Your main character was not memorable. I think the best thing about Andromeda was the gameplay, right? It was a great improvement for gameplay, but it was kind of right? Nice premise, but the execution was just like, eh. So for me, I was like, man, BioWare is fucking dead, dude. So when they actually, like, when reviewers came out, reviewers that I like and respect came out, were like, hey, it's actually pretty okay. I'm like, oh, okay, maybe the game will be successful then. Now, what really did it for me that made me say, okay, I think this game is going to be successful, despite like my skepticism, because I'm like, well, why aren't they telling? Why are the reviews so close to the game launching? Right? I don't like that. But the reviewers actually said that they had the game for like 2 weeks. I'm like, oh, okay, that's enough time, right? But in spite of that initial skepticism, what really made me think like, oh, okay, the game will probably do well then, is because EA came out during their, I think it was like their financial call, investor call. I don't fucking know, one of those like formal calls, right? Where they were like, oh, the pre-orders are charting well for the game, and I was like, oh, okay, so the game will probably do well. But there were like, listen, guys, normally I don't do this, but because I have been so like because this entire argument has been so fucking irrational, I decided to trigger myself multiple times by watching those anti-woke content creators, but the ones who were like exceptionally irrational, right? So I watched like this content creator who said the game's gonna be a failure because it's not selling well on fucking Amazon. I was like, okay. Other content creators said, I know. Other content creators said, oh, it's not even in the top 50. The game's a failure. The game's a flop. And then when the game entered like top 50, it's like, what, 34 or something. Well, okay, it's in the top 50, but it's still going to be a failure. It's still going to be a flop. And then the game
moving.
They kept moving the goalposts, and the game reached like number 3. And they were just like, what? And then they completely switched over and started talking about something else. They were like, well, the reviews are going to be, the reviews are going to review it poorly. It's going to be poorly reviewed. Yeah. Then the reviews came out. Some mixed reviews, but mostly positive from reviewers, right? Well, the reviewers got paid off and they didn't send out copies. And I'm gonna tag Vara Dark, who is actually racist, who said something racist. What did she say? I can't even fucking remember what she said. It was so egregious that it actually pissed me off. But it was a title. It was a thumbnail of her video that was so blatantly racist that pissed me off. Let me see if I can find it right. Vara Dark, and then Grumps, who is a known grifter, not even like a kind of grifter, not even maybe he's not. No, he's a grifter, 100%, right? Fextra Life fucking tagged, he used those people as examples. I'm like, bro, I can't even take you fucking seriously. I can't take you seriously at all. So then that was the goalpost where reviewers they're curating who gets this game. I'm like, yeah, as most fucking game companies do. Okay, you piss off a game company and you're not getting their fucking game. They don't want you to have the game, they're not going to give you the game. That's just how it is, right? But because some cuck content creators didn't get the fucking game, suddenly everything's biased. But whatever, right? So then I was like, okay, I'm curious what the user reviews will be then, right? Because the game is selling well. So I want to know what the user reviews will be. I'm not taking the user score on fucking Metacritic seriously. I'm taking the user score on Steam seriously. And it's mostly positive, right? 76% of people are like, all right, it's cool. All right, so then the fucking goalposts moved over to the content creators were like, oh, there's no one's gonna be playing this game, guys. So then it's like, okay, there's 70,000 people playing the game. Well, there's not enough. It's not as many people as Monster Hunter beta.
Right, like the
It's
one
not
of
as
the
many
biggest
people as
games
that.
out there.
I'm like,
It's just funny.
like, and so someone said that to me, and I'm just like, I completely understand what you're saying, but honestly, Monster Hunter, those numbers are not impressive because Counter-Strike all-time peak 1.2 million. All right, so like Monster Hunter, that's not impressive at all. Those numbers are not. See how it's completely fucking irrational, and there's more to common with fucking Monster Hunter and Counter-Strike. Only because it's a beta, so it's free to play. And Counter-Strike, what? Counter-Strike's free to play, right? Or no?
It is.
Yeah,
Yes, it is.
Two
It is free
free
to.
to play games.
Yep.
The thing is,
So-
it's like as someone brought up in the chat, it's the Sigma guy in the chat. It's like kind of a flop, fewer than Black Myth Wukong. Yeah, you do know the reason why Black Myth Wukong hit those numbers is because of the Chinese audience, right?
Yeah, these
That
people
ain't
are fucking
happening with
stupid,
like the
bro.
Chinese audience. Like you have
These
to
people are
understand,
fucking stupid. Comparing
China
Go ahead.
showed up and showed out for their game.
And did shout out to them, honestly. But yeah,
Yeah.
comparing one game's success with another game's success and then trying to say the game's a failure because it's not. It's honestly speaking, the fact that people are using the numbers and not the fact that it's was number one top selling on Steam globally tells me everything I need to know. They keep moving the goalposts because every single one of their arguments has fell to the wayside, right? So for me, I see this shit and I'm just like, all right, like I can't take you people seriously because you guys are full of shit, you know? And so it's like EA could come out and could be like, yeah, the game did well for us. And people would still be like, well, actually, no, it didn't, because
Right.
someone who's not connected with the game whatsoever, know better. Because it feels like HR is in the room with me when you play. Because that's what fucking Skill Up said. And you stupid motherfuckers don't have opinions of your own. You take your fucking opinions from everyone else, right? Mind you. So let me tell you my difference between a grifter and someone with genuine criticism. I'd say Skill Up and Mr. Matty Plays had genuine criticism, and I don't think of those guys as grifters, right? And they both had negative reviews of the game, okay? A grifter, again, is someone like Grumps.
And they both got review codes, which counters the narrative that they decided to give the game only to people who would give it a positive review, or that completely fake NDA that you have to be a complete moron to actually believe was real. That Grumps tried to parrot around and then say it's been confirmed, and then you got people saying, well, he did say supposedly. I'm like, well, did you also read the part where he said it was confirmed? Like, how are you guys this stupid? And it's just it's funny because like they move the goalposts, but it's like it's not even like believable. The only people who believe this is their small little echo chamber of
it's not a small echo chamber. It's quite a few people, honestly speaking. I'm sorry to interrupt you. It's at least like 300,000 stupid fucks, right? Who actually believe this bullshit. But the thing of it is, Slomo, these people don't account for fucking reality. They don't account for the real fucking world. Normal people do not give a shit about that woke, anti-woke shit. They will watch something and they will play something if it's good. All right? If they enjoy it, they'll play it. Okay? They are too focused on real life to give a fuck about this shit. All right? Give an example. Alien Romulus, right? That movie was fucking phenomenal. Where were the white men? Okay? There was one white male character and he was a bad guy. All right? Everyone else in that cast there was a white woman, all right? Everyone else was a fucking person of color and a black guy, right? People were like, we don't give a fuck about all that woke shit. The movie's fucking phenomenal. You know what I'm saying? Because it is good. All right. Metaphor Refantasio is a super woke fucking game. That shit talks about fucking, use the word fucking, what did they say? They use the word xenophobia in that game. They talk about racism, okay? They talk about poverty in that game, all right? Talk about the fucking bourgeoisie in that fucking game. That's a woke fucking game, all right? But no one talks about metaphor being woke. No one talks about it being an issue. Let me tell you motherfuckers why, all right? Again, you people just fucking hate trans people. And you can say, well, I don't like identity politics in my game. Why? I don't like how fucking stupid you are. Have you ever considered that? I saw Asmongold's cuck ass on fucking social media. Someone posted a clip. He's like, guys, they're forcing me to be trans. Mind you, there's a back button in the dialogue wheel. Mind you, I just did that dialogue wheel like 4 or 5 hours ago. I saw the fucking trans identity shit, gender identity shit, and I ignored it. All right, my character's not fucking trans, so I fucking ignored that shit, man. And I moved on with the fucking game. I didn't hyperfixate on the goddamn gender identity like you people do. All right, I'm not fucking obsessed with what's between someone's fucking legs and what's not. All right, I don't give a fuck. Okay, I don't care. All right, they're forcing it down my throat. You're forcing it down your own throat because you're watching that shit, man. You're watching these content creators that are feeding you fucking slop content, right? Where you are deliberately pissing yourself off over and over and over again. You just fucking don't like trans people, and you don't want to fucking see trans people in your fucking game. That's what the fucking issue is. Just like how you didn't want to see black people in your game, just like how you didn't want to see women in your fucking game, just like how you didn't want to see gay people in your fucking game. You just don't like trans people. They're just the latest in this fucking agenda against a minority of people. All right, it is what it is. Okay, you guys are fucking liars. All right, again, there's valid criticism for the game. I have some valid critiques myself, but you saying that the game's gonna fucking fail because of some goddamn trans scars, you're a fucking cuck. All right, the amount of YouTubers I was sub to a significant. I like to hear both sides of a conversation, because if you can make a valid point on something, I'll be all right, cool, right? So I was sub to many of those anti-woke YouTubers, because up until this point, I'm like, all right, okay, let's see. You know what I'm saying? When it came to a lot of the topics, had me rolling my eyes with a lot of the topics, but it's just like, this was such a complete and total, like, you lost your fucking minds, dude. You guys are fucking nuts. All right, you're fucking crazy, and the game is a success, regardless of how you may fucking feel about it. And I'm glad it is. I'm glad the game is doing as well as it is, because watching these people fucking melt down has been a highlight of my goddamn week. Honestly speaking, I am not tolerant. I am not a tolerant person when it comes to hatred and bigotry. Okay, I'm like, no, I'm giving you guys the same fucking energy. You should jump. All right. Well, there was someone on Twitter talking about, like, oh, trans people should kill themselves, right? I'm like, well, how about you kill yourself? How about that instead? Do us all the favor. But then it's like people will get mad at me for saying that. Like, that's a little extreme, Luca. I'm like, is it? I'm just giving the same fucking energy, except I'm not targeting an entire class of people because of who they are as people. I'm targeting them because of the content of their fucking character, right? So, whatever. It is what it is. I can't stand a lot of you motherfuckers. I got into not even arguments, back and forths with some people. And I'm just like, your arguments are fucking irrational. They don't make any sense. And for the most part, most of the conversations eased out and it was fine, right? But like, for some people, I was like, I'm just not even going to pay you any mind, because I can't deal with irrational people. You don't want to listen to anything that's being said. There's no logic here. You just don't fucking like trans people. Just say that. Just fucking say you either don't like them or you just don't want them in your game. Well, I want escapism. So escapism for people in the LGBT community, that doesn't exist. You don't want them to have that. It's just escapism for them. What are you escaping? You're escaping these people existing in the first place. You just can't fucking stand the concept of these people fucking existing in the first place. It makes you sick to your stomach. Does it trigger you? Does it get under your fucking skin? Does it upset you? That you just want something really, I just want to play this game and not have to think about modern day politics. Kill yourself, okay? How about that? Oh, sorry, it slipped out. I'm sorry. I don't mean it. My bad. I'm inciting hatred, right? But that's what a lot of these content creators seem to be able to do. And there's like no consequences. They can just incite hatred against a group of people and say the most bigoted, awful things, and nothing happens to them. And everyone claps like fucking steals. You guys make me sick to my fucking stomach, man. I'm not tolerant of that kind of behavior, okay? But whatever.
Tell them how you really feel.
I mean, like, again, these people make me fucking sick, dude. They're so annoying. Like, bro, use logic in your fucking arguments, man.
Yeah, I keep going back
They don't
to
need to
it.
use logic in their arguments because they're the people who agree with them also don't adhere to logic whatsoever. So they're able to, like, for example, the fake NDA, which, you know, like I want to keep bringing that up because, you know, I keep encountering people who pretend to be smarter than they really are, try to tell me, oh, well, we just don't want this forced on us. It's a video game. No one is forcing you to play a video game. Well, we don't like it when you're forcing this into all of our games. It's a choice. Like I've now created 3 characters in this game. At no point, and I typically don't, when I do character create, I normally don't even, like, whether it's Cyberpunk or any other game where I create a character, I usually don't even go into the section for scars. Because I normally just, you know, by preference, don't want any of my characters looking like they lost a lot of fights, and so I just don't put scars on their face, on their body, or anything like that. And so for me, every time I made my 3 characters, it wasn't until afterwards that I remembered, oh yeah, I was supposed to be forced into trans scars, but I wasn't, and didn't even see the option. It's just like, y'all act like y'all don't know how character creators work. And maybe some of y'all don't, because I really believe a good number of them don't even play video games for the most part. And so all of this is a grift. All of it is just a way of engagement. Like the people that you see making things up, lying about reviews, lying about what's in the game, they're content creators who are weaponizing your outrage and your stupidity. And they are using you. They are getting a benefit out of it. They may not get directly paid by anyone. Maybe they are. Maybe you're signed up to their Patreon, the stupidity, and maybe you are giving them the money directly because you're that dumb. But most of them are still getting paid off of views and ad revenue. And we have seen content creators talk about, oh, when I do just regular, hey, look, I like this video game and I'm gonna talk about this game, my audience does not resonate with that. But when I talk about, oh, so and so is trying to turn all their games a certain way, I quadruple the number of views. And so, like, you're being honest and saying, well, yeah, I do this because of the views, not because it's really how I feel about whatever situation. And I mean, I appreciate the honesty, but it is what it is. And when you see people do these things, you don't have the right to make the argument that, oh, it's just, we don't like these kind of games. I'm like, all right, look, I'm not telling you what you have to like. You are free to disagree with how a game is played. You are free to have criticisms. I have criticisms of this game. But you don't get to tell other people how they should feel about the game. You don't get to create lies and create narratives to try to hurt the game simply because you don't like it. That's not normal. That's weirdo gremlin behavior. When you take, oh, I don't like a game. Cool, you don't like it. That's fine. We all have preferences. Nope, I don't like the game. And also, I'm going to write a fake NDA that showed I clearly have no idea what legal documents look like.
The fact that people believe
to create a narrative where EA and BioWare are forcing reviewers to review it positively because I didn't like the fact that it had positive reviews. Like, that's not reality. That's not, I just don't like the game. That's, you're a weirdo gremlin. Like you have a problem. And you're way too invested in side content or side narratives or dialogue in a game that has 10,000 lines of dialogue and 5 or 20 of them you don't like. Therefore, I'm going to spend copious hours of my life with the pursuit of making sure this game fails. Just like that entire line of the mindset that you would think this is something that is important is dumbfounding that your life is that pathetic, that you have nothing else going on for you but fighting the fight against woke games. I mean, I would say get a woman, but we already know the kind of person you are, and a woman wouldn't touch you if it meant saving their life. So these kind of people just are pathetic to a degree that just you pity them. And so I'm not surprised when this is the kind of person that the people that we're dealing with, because they got nothing else going on with their life, and no one really cares about them and what they're doing in their free time. And is that insulting? Absolutely.
Good.
But it's also true. So because it's true, I will continue to keep saying it.
It's just like, I'm just like, bro, like, you guys are fucking horrid. You're horrible people. I'm sorry. I'm not sorry. You're horrible people. You're horrid. I can't stand you. And honestly speaking, again, I normally don't fully indulge in this kind of content. Like if there's something that I don't like, I'm just gonna ignore it. I don't like being upset, right? But I did this to myself. All right, this is my own fault. I chose to fully engage in that anti-woke bullshit.
I just block these people and keep it moving.
I fueled my rage for this moment, right? I kept seeing the bullshit and the nonsense. And I've been doing shit I normally don't fucking do. I'm on Twitter arguing with people. I mean, I used to do that all the time when I was younger, right? But I'm back. Okay, I'm briefly back to act up, okay? But once this game is like a couple weeks out, I'm like, all right, it'll be whatever, right? So anyway, these anti-woke grifters, not everybody who has criticism for the game is a grifter. You're grifting. Your criticism just has to be based in like something valid, right? I would say some valid criticism. This does not feel like an RPG to me so far. I understand that there are dialogue choices and there's choices in the narrative, of course, right? But for me, when it comes to like the dialogue specifically, I've been choosing some of the mean options, the quote unquote firm mean dialogue, and I'm like, I don't feel firm and mean. All right, this feels a little, I don't know. I feel like I feel okay, and I also don't like that. I mean, this isn't a big thing, but I also don't like that if you choose a dialogue choice, they don't say exactly what's on the screen. They say like a variation of it, right? So it's like, well, what intent am I giving off? It's kind of the same issue that Fallout 4 had and stuff. So, it wasn't a big deal for me for Fallout 4, but it is a valid concern for people. I can say that. So,
can I say something real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
About the whole, and this might be just a nitpick for me, but I agree with your criticism. I do not agree that it doesn't feel like a RPG, because there are RPGs that don't give you any choice in dialogue, but they're still RPGs. Right?
I mean, can you give examples?
Chrono Trigger, pretty much all the Final Fantasy games. There's a lot of RPGs that don't have a choice in dialogue. It's very it's very rigid and linear, and there's no choice in the story whatsoever. A lot of RPGs don't have multiple endings.
It doesn't feel like a BioWare RPG then, because
that I can see that. Yeah.
It doesn't feel like a BioWare RPG, because it's just kind of like, I was talking to my friend about this, and my friend was like, well, your companions have to get along, and or the story won't work out. My friend has never played Dragon Age before, right? So they don't know. And I was explaining to them, I was like, listen, in Dragon Age 2, Meryl, Anders, and fucking Fenris all hated each other. Okay, Fenris and Anders hated each other especially. Okay, Fenris did not like Anders because Anders is not likable. Okay, but don't get me fucking started. But Fenris did not like Anders because Anders was a mage.
Real quick, I saw some weirdo on Twitter basically picking fights with anyone that said anything bad about Anders, and I was just like, Yeah, I was about to say, he's a terrorist, right?
I mean, because he actually, like, I just listen. I don't get me fucking started on Anders. You know how
yeah,
okay.
yeah. And your first two companions in Origins is Alistar and Morrigan, and in the first 10 minutes, they're full on arguing and insulting each other in the worst possible way, to the point where it's like you have an option to please, like, tell them to please shut up. Like, please stop, stop arguing. It's just
Leliana could
the
not
idea
stand
that
Morrigan.
your companions are supposed to get along is not true. Like, that's just not true in general for general storytelling, but definitely not true in RPGs, because it's just there've been clear examples of really good RPGs that have had companions that outright hate each other, and the only reason they're there is because the overall plot is so important that their hatred for the other person over there at the camp is not as important as making sure that they accomplish this goal.
Yeah, pretty much. But yeah, so I was explaining to my friend, I'm like, no, that's not true. Like, your companions don't have to like each other. You can actually, in the earlier Dragon Age games, I was telling them, I was like, you can actually make choices that make your companions turn against you or just leave completely. Right. So it's
Right.
like, for me, just playing these games, I'm only 10 hours in, so that could completely change. Right. But so far, I'm kind of like, well, it seems like everyone's getting along okay. Seems okay so far. All right. Well, I guess we'll see what happens. Right. Um, like, I guess we'll see what happens, So we've had like a couple of major choices. Now maybe down the line, as the game continues on, it'll be like, "Oh shit, that choice led to that." Like how if you in Inquisition don't talk Leliana down that first fucking time and be like, "No, you shouldn't go and assassinate that person." She's not going to listen to you when you're up in that goddamn chantry and you're like, "Don't kill her." And she's like, "I'm a killer." Right? Like, stuff like that.
Right.
So it's like, for me, so I do have some nitpicks there. And then, yeah, I mean, I feel like that's pretty much it. So far, I'm just kind of like, okay, like, the dialogue choices are, the conversations between the companions, I don't really have any complaints about that. I don't have any complaints about the companion dialogue so far. I like all the characters. Okay. Ooh, Nev is, like, she is so fine. Like, she looks so good. Like, that's the one I'm romancing right there. But I think Harding so far, I'm side eyeing Harding a little bit, just like how I was looking at Meryl kind of sideways sometimes when she was talking about those damn alluvians. Harding talking.
Sometimes.
Stop. Okay, I like Meryl.
Sometimes.
I like Meryl. Okay, and I like Harding too. But just like how I was
Meryl
looking at
is the worst character. Not the worst. She's not worse than Anders, only because Anders is so awful. Like
yeah,
I can't stand
but
Meryl. But go ahead.
just like how Meryl, I was kind of looking at her sideways when she was talking about those fucking alluvians and the blood magic. I'm looking at Harding a little sideways when she starts staring off to the distance, hearing voices and shit. I'm like, okay, I don't know. Like, I don't know where this is gonna go. I'm very like, this is a continuation of, what was it, the Deep Roads? What was the fucking DLC called for Dragon Age Inquisition where you went into the Deep Roads? Which one was it called? And you saw the Titans.
I forgot the name of it. I forgot the name of it.
I don't
Yeah.
remember. I cannot remember. There was oh my god.
Only one that's coming to mind is Trespasser.
Okay, yeah, Trespasser, the one before that, right? So you go into the Deep Road, learn about like the Titans and the dwarves and that connection, why the dwarves are cut off from magic, that kind of thing, right? So she's over here hearing voices. I'm kind of like, girl, all right, well, we'll see what happens there. I told her flat out, I was like, yeah, this shit's kind of weird, but I'm here. You're my girl, all good. So I like her. I like Balara too. People were saying that, like, oh, she's weird.
It's like traditionally in Dragon Age, that's never turned out well.
Yeah, like,
red lyrium kind of things. Like, anytime people start hearing voices, it's like, yeah, this is going to end badly. But yeah.
Yeah, like, pretty much it's got me side eyeing her. But Balara's people are like, oh, she's the cute, quirky girl. But I'm just like, I don't know. I don't feel like, even though she's a little quirky, she's not very nice. I wouldn't say she's nice. Like, people were saying that she's like the generic cute, quirky, nice girl. I'm like, oh, she's definitely not nice. She's definitely not nice. I don't think she's I think that she is a respectful person, but she is not nice, and she's willing to be honest about how she feels. So then there's also not me forgetting his name. The Antivan Crow guy, Lucaris, I think. There's him. I haven't spent a lot of time with him yet, but I like him okay. And then there's I think I just got Davrin. I'm liking Davrin. He's very stern. Okay, he's okay, this is how a Grey Warden is supposed to be. All right, stern, to the point, firm, getting shit done. All right, these new age Grey Wardens are trash, dude. I was talking to someone on Twitter about this. They're all like, well, Grey Wardens don't typically get involved in blah, 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 whatever. I'm like, I know that, but the Grey Wardens have been corrupted. All right, and it's not the fucking blight corrupting them. Okay,
Duncan is turning over in his grave.
Okay, yeah, ever since fucking Inquisition, the goddamn Grey Wardens have not been standing for what they should be fucking standing for. Okay, the fucking Warden Commander's a cuck. All right, so it's like, no, I'm not liking the current day Grey Wardens. All right, the fucking original. Where the hell the hero of Ferelden is fucking dead at this point, honestly speaking. But like, you know, the work that the hero put in to rebuild the Wardens, only for them to once again be taken over by fucking bastards, bro. Like, it's sickening. It's fucking sickening. But anyway, yeah, I'm liking the game okay so far. Like, I'm liking the story. I like Elganar and Gillenane. I'm liking shockingly. You know, it's not a shock. Me and Solus were homies. That was my boy. That was my guy in my first playthrough. I was so hurt when he betrayed me. And that's why my other two playthroughs, I was like, fuck you, Solus. Like, I didn't pay him any mind, right? But, you know, me and Solus are having some banter back and forth. It's chill. You know, it's fine. I like the main character. I like Rook so far. I think that she's super cute. But those are the options I'm, like, choosing for her. Like, she'll be like, hey, guys. It's like, oh, okay, she's so cute. But anyway, like I said, you know, because I definitely was trying to tell the Warden Commander to go fuck himself. But, like, you know, whatever, you know, it is what it is. Good game so far. I'm very interested to see how it continues on, especially because I'm seeing people like Gene being like, oh, it gets better a little bit later on. And I also did just come off of Metaphor, but I will say, like I said, those dialogue options, and I'm not talking about the fucking trans shit. I'm talking about the dialogue options in general. I don't know, you know. But go ahead, Slomo.
I am, as I said before, I've been playing with 3 different characters, and so I am not as far as long as say you are, but that's because I've been kind of playing with 3 different characters and doing 3 different things. Like I have a warrior who is an Antivan Crow, and all my options with him, I'm trying to be as mean as possible, as mean as the game allows me to be. I've always done a playthrough like that with Bioware games, and with to me varying degrees of hilarity with how bad you can be and how poorly you can treat people. I go up until the point of telling my companions, get the F out, which you can normally do in all Bioware games. You can tell a companion, this ain't working out. I don't like you. Kick rocks. Like, get up out of here. Skedaddle, you know, and they'll leave. And I mean, I'm not trying to beat the game with like me and one other a-hole in my party. So I don't tell them to leave, but I treat them as poorly as possible. And that's what I'm doing right now. And they're really, so far, with my Antivan Crow warrior, he's not that mean. You know, he's just he like, I just literally, as Luca was talking, I did the part where and this is like spoilers, but there's a part where, you know, you gotta have a kind of a rough conversation with Harding due to an incident that happened, and you can kind of show support to her. You can try to engender a little bit of romance there, you know, or you could be pretty neutral, or you could be like, yeah, I ain't trusting you like that, and I'm gonna keep watching you. And if it looks like you having some problems, I'm gonna cut you down. And it didn't really come out that way. It reminds me, when it comes to, and for those who have played a lot of Bioware games, you'll understand this, the difference between, say, Mass Effect 2 and Mass Effect Andromeda. And Mass Effect 2,
Renegade.
You could be a renegade. I mean, kicking mercs through windows because they didn't give you the information that you wanted. Just straight like shooting people in the face. You could do however you want. Oh, there's a factory full of workers that are about to burn alive. Yeah, but my goal and my target is about to escape. So sorry for them. I hope they die quickly. Like, that's the kind of mentality that you could have. Whereas in Mass Effect Andromeda, your main protagonists were these rider twins, and you could choose which twin you wanted to be, but it really didn't matter. Like, it's not like they had distinct personalities from one another, and your options were really to either be very stoic in your responses or be sarcastic. You really couldn't be that mean. And I think that when it comes to the kind of games that BioWare has made, that has affected their storytelling. And I do have to acknowledge that a lot of the people that made their bones in this industry and were lead writers and lead game designers on those previous games do not work at BioWare anymore. And so I understand that there are new people there that are trying to make their mark on IP that already has a form of nostalgia.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, David Gator ain't never coming back. He's
never
never
bring
coming
him back, please. Please bring him back. Bring him back.
David Gator quit BioWare, and he quit BioWare due to BioWare's employees. David Gator was writing, and the bulk of the work in Inquisition is his work, but he was still writing Inquisition, Dragon Age Inquisition, when BioWare leadership took him off of that and put him on Anthem. And he wrote an entire story on Anthem that, for those who saw it, was pretty good. But then there were people on the Mass Effect team who was making Anthem that said, feels like Dragon Age to me. And that kind of gets into the inner politics of BioWare, where the Dragon Age team and the Mass Effect team were completely different. Like, they were never been ran like other studios like Naughty Dog or CDPR, where you'll have a skeleton crew working on the next game while the bulk, like 85% of the studios, working on one game. And then once they finish that game, they all switch over to the new game. A lot of the studios run that way. BioWare has always been ran with two distinct teams working on two different IP, Mass Effect, Dragon Age. And then you had like your Star Wars, Old Republic teams and, and Arcane Austin and stuff. But there's always been like this competitiveness, maybe a little too competitive, between Dragon Age team and Mass Effect team. And so when David Gator got disrespected by these people who, didn't have their lead writer no more, because Drew Karpyshyn up and rolled out when Casey Hudson changed his ending of Mass Effect 3, like, y'all need me because y'all can't write your way out of a wet paper bag. Then I go write some good stuff, and you're saying it feels like Dragon Age to me. All right, well, it feels like you're on your own, bitch. And he left. And so,
I mean, those people are gone, though. Like, they've restructured BioWare. Hire his ass back, please. Come back, David.
Yeah, I think
I will personally pay your fucking salary.
You will. I think he's happy where he's at now. Like, when I've seen him talk about things, like he's working on tabletop games, he seems very content with where he's at the moment. So I don't think he'll come back. We've seen Casey Hudson and Drew Karpyshyn come back multiple times, because it just seems like they can't stay away from something that is been a part of their DNA for so long. But then they come back and then they leave again, and I think it's partially due to the fact that, like, they came back and they realized it ain't the same. It ain't the same studio. It's not the same company, and it's just, I need to go. I need to stay on. Like Drew Karpyshyn is the lead writer now for Exodus, where Architect Entertainment, which is like a bulk of the former Mass Effect team, are working on that game that we've seen over the past year get revealed that looks a lot like Mass Effect. That game that they showed at the Xbox showcase, Eternal Strands, is being created from a studio that's led by the lead creative director for the previous Dragon Age games. And so they've all just kind of moved on. They got their own studios now. It's this current day BioWare has to live and die on their own feet. And I'll say
well,
this, I've said about
better writers, honestly.
yes, they need better writers. Yes. And I said this about 343 when it came to Bungie, just like you're not them. And you're never going to surpass how they make games, but all you can really do is chart your own path. And I think that when it comes down to it, you're better off trying to do that than trying to emulate what the predecessors were doing. And so I say that all that to say that like these Bioware devs have to start making their kind of game, and it's going to be different than what we've seen in the past, but it's necessary in order for it to be quality, because you can make a different game, but as long as that different game is executed well and done well, people really ain't gonna complain like that. The problem comes when you don't execute it well, in it like in Andromeda, where you got boring protagonists, you got a Saturday morning cartoon antagonists, when you have companions that suck and they're boring, the writing sucks. It's these issues. When these issues arise, people are going to bring up the fact that the previous dudes didn't have these issues, and so that's going to be a part of the criticism, because you're walking where people have already tread. But that doesn't change the fact you still need to go and make your game, because if you try to do it the way they do it, like down to a T, the very best you're going to get is it was okay. it was almost as good as Mass Effect 2. Congratulations, right?
Oh yeah, and that's another thing. Sorry to interrupt, but the people, someone's like, this is the best BioWare game I've played. I'm like, I know we all like different things, okay? I know we all have our own opinions, okay? I haven't beat the game yet. Maybe. Then even still, I can't even say maybe it is, man. I can't do it. I'm sorry. The best BioWare game. What game did you just play? Anthem and Andromeda? Like, what's going on, man?
Probably.
Like,
Yep.
because, like, in my opinion, Dragon Age Origins, Dragon Age 2, Inquisition, Mass Effect 1, 2, and 3, okay? That ending notwithstanding with 3. Those are all excellent games, like, in terms of writing, right? So what criteria are we rating, like, best by, but like it's all good, man. We all like different things. I mean, did I stop in my tracks when I saw that? Yes, unfortunately I did. That was one of the things where I'm like, man, I don't know. Someone else said that they liked it, or they are comparing this game to Mass Effect 2. I'm like, what crack are you smoking? But whatever, we're all into different things. Am I wrong for my critique? Yes, okay, we're all into different things. I should not be judging folks based on their opinions. But as someone where Mass Effect 2 is my favorite game, like overall, right? And as a big fan of the Dragon Age series in general, I'm just kind of like, well, because like so far from what I'm seeing, like, because those first 10 hours in Mass Effect 2 hit. You know what I'm saying? Like they were a hit. So it's just kind of like, all right, when's the last time y'all played these games? I don't know. Very interesting.
Luca.
Go ahead.
I think there are a lot of people whose very first BioWare game was either Dragon Age Inquisition or Mass Effect Andromeda. And so when people talk about the greatness of the studio in the past, they say, oh, word, like Knights of the Old Republic is awesome. And then they see it and they're like, I ain't playing that. And they're not playing it because it's outdated as far as level design, as far as game design, the visuals, and they can't get around that. And so the greatness of that game, they don't recognize because they won't play it and they don't get to experience how great, like I had a conversation with a content creator last night that said, they didn't think BioWare's romance stories were ever good. And I said, okay. And this is a big time content creator. I'm not going to say their name, but like they said, they don't think they've ever been good. It's always been say whatever you need to say that agrees with the person's personality to then bang them. And I said, well, there are a significant number of romances options in those games where that is essentially the format. But then I brought up like, well, but what about Revan Ambassador Shan and Knights of the Old Republic, and they were like, "Oh yeah, that's different," because that was the option. If you choose those options for romance, that really didn't end that way. It didn't go that way, and it was extremely well done and well written. And I was like, what about Shepard and Jack in Mass Effect 2, where if you sleep with Jack, as soon as she comes on to you, you're cut off from a romance forever due to a lot of her own trauma. If you turn her down in a respectful manner, then you actually open up an option for a romance with someone who's pretty much broken emotionally. He agreed. And so it's just like that level of detail and depth in relationships is something that I think that has kind of eluded current day BioWare. And I think they got a long way to go to kind of match that. And I think back then, nobody was doing that in video games like that. We've seen CDPR kind of and Larian Studios kind of pick up the mantle from BioWare and are doing great things, in their own right, making their RPGs and their DNA, but also kind of using the format that BioWare created. But current day BioWare hasn't been able to match that yet, So I think that's something that
there's some great examples, Slomo.
Yeah.
I definitely 1 second, Singer. I definitely when that other content creator was saying that, I'm like, oh, I can agree with that because you are just saying the right thing. But that's for most games, right? You choose what you got to say in order to get with the person. But those were, I never played Knights of the Old Republic, but the example with Jack is really good. But go ahead, Singer.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So there's a whole bunch of things. It's there's a whole bunch of points because I've had to build in this argument for 30 minutes, and it's okay, right, let me formulate the thoughts. So what's crazy is a lot of people now, you could tell, new because you'll find that pretty much all RPGs have roots or based in D&D, which is the godfather of RPGs, right? You wouldn't have RPGs without D&D. And all the games, Dragon Age games, Knights of the Old Republic, all of it's inspired in some way from the tabletop in terms of mechanics or how romance works, etc.
Mm-hmm.
And then they take it and put it all the Elder Scrolls games. All these great games, a lot of the mechanics and stuff are all based around this D&D. And D&D has always been here's a worldscape and you could do what you want with it. And that's why I don't get the trans, all these arguments now, current day, for all this woke stuff, because D&D in of itself, you could run the campaign however you want. It's your imagination. You make the game. You just get given, here's a bunch of assets. Let your imagination go wild. That's why RPGs are always so out there and fantastical, because it's just let you create your own world and just go wild. But they've always had stuff like racism in them. They've had sexism in them. They've had all kinds of things, all kinds of themes, and that's why I've never batted at an RPG like Baldur's Gate 3. It has a lot of these themes in it. No one cared. And there was all these complex situations and interpersonal relationships between the party members. It's when everyone finds out Asterian's a vampire, some want to kill him. Some are like, well, no, okay, he's a vampire, but he's this and that. And then you have to weigh up. It's oh, is he a good person, a bad person? Sure, he's a vampire, but does he really? And you have to go through all this. And lots of people have done that well. BioWare did that well back in the day. Obsidian does it really, really well. They still do. But they actually stuck around with their core talent. And it's this new people who come onto the scene who are trying to, whatever, they spin these narratives about stuff like Dragon Age. I'm sure they'll do the same thing with Avowed. I'm pretty sure, I can guarantee you, Avowed is going to have some transgender stuff in it. It's going to have a lot of the stuff you're complaining about with Dragon Age is probably going to be in Avowed, and it's going to go through the same shit, right? But the point is, D&D has always been, and the games that follow it, everything is encompassing and everything is inclusive. D&D has always been that, and games based off it. It's like if you talk to them, it's like, well, it's because it's, you could be whoever you want to be within reason. Obviously, there's rules and limits. Like you can't just be Hitler, or something like that. But so I think it's just new people now coming up with this whole, I need to make sure that I'm a grifter, that I'm anti-woke, when what you call as woke have been around for years, but it's only because current day technology and these people are finally on the internet is anyone kicking up a fuss about it, because it's been a thing for years and years and years. Even Knights of the Old Republic has it. No one gave a shit. Greatest game of all time. But hey, So
a good point, man.
that was just my thing on it. It's like, that's why I like D&D so much, because you could go anywhere you want, and these games like Veilguard is based off Dungeons and Dragons. They said they took a lot of inspiration from it, from the new rule set. It's like, well, yes, because it's so easy to take it, put it in your own world, and you could do what you want. And if you want a transgender character, go do it. If you want to be a dog, go do it. If you want to be a wolf person, furries, you're catered for. Like, everything is there. And that's why it's always going to be now, from now on, RPGs are going to get the same shit. Watch now. Outer Worlds 2 comes out. Fable comes out. I guarantee you Fable's going to have controversy.
I can't wait.
And Avowed and Outer Worlds 2, because these people, they explore everything, because RPGs in essence are open. Be who you want to be. There's no, I don't want transgender in my game. The game isn't about you, though.
Yeah, that's true. As well, like, I do want to say this. Another issue I have, Singer, with the character creator is, like, you can't have big tatas. Okay.
Oh, well,
yes.
that's unfortunate.
But you can't. You can make yourself thick, but not really.
Well, you can always mod it in.
That's true. I am playing on I'm playing on PS5. It's running very, very smoothly on performance mode. So I'm playing it on PC, and Singer will get it on PC later. So overall, I'm enjoying it myself so far.
Can I talk about my performance real quick? It is very, very well optimized.
What card do you have, please?
I have a 4080 Super, which I know some people are going to be like, okay, you have a high-end card, you have a high-end PC slow-mo, of course it plays well. But just because I do have that does not mean all games perform great. Clearly, there have been some games, especially recently, where they, and a lot of them run on Unreal Engine 5, where there's like traversal stutter, animation stutter. There are shader caching issues, all kinds of problems. This game has none of that. This is probably the first game that is not a Battlefield game that runs on Frostbite engine and runs extremely, extremely well. And it's unfortunate that it took them a decade to be able to kind of tune this engine to what BioWare needed out of their games after EA forced them to use it. But and now that EA is no longer making that a priority, and they can make games with whatever game engine they want. Now the engine is exactly where they need it to be, and it's like, well, thanks a lot, right? I do kind of hope they go back to the Eclipse engine at some point, because they were actually making improvements on that before they were forced to use Frostbite. But regardless, I'm playing it at 4K DLSS quality. I'm getting anywhere between 90 to 120 frames per second with ray tracing off. I looked at the game with ray tracing on, and one, it looks fantastic. It's a beautiful looking game, and Frostbite engine games have always looked great. That's the complaints about those game engines has never been the visuals, but this one looks fantastic. The hair tech is next level. Like, this is probably the best hair I've seen in any game, period. And I'm not just talking about the fact that they did black hair correctly, because a number of games have done black hair correctly over the years. But it is the way the hair moves naturally. It's the animation of it when you're running, and just seeing the hair. If your character is standing still, or in cutscenes, the hair is amazing. And so that's something that I think they deserve props for. Again, 90 to 120 frames per second, 4K DLSS quality, max settings. Only thing I don't have on right now is, of course, like the typical things you always turn off, like motion blur. But I don't have ray tracing on, because the ray tracing is barely any difference. Ray tracing, depending on this implementation, can be transformative for how a game looks, like in Alan Wake 2 or Cyberpunk, or it could be like in this game where the game without ray tracing and just regular screen space reflections and all that stuff looks fantastic. With ray tracing on, it barely looks any better, but it's still giving you like a 20 to 25 frame hit to your performance. It's not necessary. The only times I've ever seen in this game with ray tracing on any like tangible difference is like when you're looking at reflections in water and being able to see other parts of the environment in the ray trace lighting and reflections in the water. Outside of that, it's basic. And so I turned that off, but it plays extremely, extremely well. I have talked to other people who have played it on PC handhelds, played it with mid-gen, like mid-range PCs, and they find it very well optimized. And I've heard it plays great on the console. So the additional time that they had when they delayed the game until now, they used that time, according to their general manager, McKay, to optimize the game for every platform as much as possible. And I think that was time well spent.
Okay, nice. Yeah. Again, it runs very. Listen, they had to hit on all cylinders. And honestly speaking, at the end of the day, it is a fucking marvel that they were able to come out with a game that is relatively well received. That they were able to come out with a game that looks like a Dragon Age game. You know what I'm saying? Because again, for several years, me more so actually, Slomo would come and he would give me some news and information about Dragon Age, Dreadwolf, and I'd be like, yeah, BioWare's dead. It's over. I'm not getting this game. Like, they're not going to be able to come out with anything competent. It's whatever, right? Like, I got some great games out of them. It is what it is, you know? And I had completely dismissed them and I let it go, right? But again, they with the previews, I was like, okay, you know, this is actually looking kind of good. Let me give it a shot. And I'm glad I gave it a shot. I am enjoying myself. Dialogue concerns notwithstanding. And the combat is a lot of fun. I'm playing as a rogue right now. But yeah, let's just move on to the rest of these goddamn topics. Okay, so since it'll be a shorter topic, Horizon Zero Dawn got their remaster. That shit looks really good. It looks really good. I take back everything I said. I was like, that game doesn't need a remaster. It looks amazing as is. And it did look amazing as is. But that they put in work with that remaster and it looks fucking phenomenal. And I am happy for anyone who chooses to pick that up. It looks great. Like, it looks really, really good. So, thoughts?
I still contend it wasn't necessary. But they did make improved, put added detail to the environments for what I saw, which is good. They did fix the facial animations, which were a big criticism to the first game, where facial animations were kind of like dead. It was kind of like, you know, the criticism the Mass Effect Andromeda got about dead faces. So they fixed that. It wasn't like basically they just improve the performance and use that additional power that the PS5 has over how they designed a PS4 game, essentially, and said, all right, we did it. we're good to go. It wasn't that. They actually put some time in on it, which is fine. It's just that the previous game, I mean, like some of that, I would say like maybe half of it could have been an update on the first game, like fixing facial animations. You could have did that in the update on the PS4 game. So I mean, you could have just had a years later update and provide that. And typically, what we've seen from a lot of other games nowadays is that's just what they do. I mean, it's really the difference between, say, like Cyberpunk and Cyberpunk 2.0. Cyberpunk 2.0 didn't just fix the game's performance and then later on, like a week later, they added Phantom Liberty. They completely redid the skill trees. They fleshed out the origin stories. They made your origin more important in the dialogue that you do. They made the origin story so much better that they even added scenes, especially for like Nomad and stuff like that. They did so much additional work in it that it's if this was Atlas, they would have called it Cyberpunk Edge Runner, or no, that's the TV show. They couldn't do that. Cyberpunk Cyber Psychosis, and they would have charged you full price for it. But instead, they made it a free update. Maybe because also everybody was hating CDPR when they decided
because
to
like
do
they
that.
didn't have a
but-
choice, honestly speaking. Like they either come out with something better and improve the game, or just have this stain on their reputation forever. Horizon Zero Dawn was already a well-received game, and it's like a $10 update. You know what I'm saying? For people who already own the game. So I think I understand and I hear what you're saying, and I'm with you. But I also think, like, for people who just want to throw in that $10 who already own the game, I think it's a pretty nice update, especially for folks who don't have PCs. You know?
Yeah, isn't it? But now it's a $10 update for if you have it on PlayStation, right?
Yeah, if you own the game.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. For $10, that's fine. Yeah, that's not that big a deal. Even though I kind of feel like it's pointless, but still, $10.
I mean, you feel that way.
That's a happy
You're
meal
used-
for some people.
You're used to the glory of PC gaming. Some people don't have that. You know what I'm saying? They see this is the closest
But
they'll
that
get.
also is on PC, and somebody correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think PC gets the $10. Like, I own that game on Steam. Matter of fact, I'll double check right now. I own that game on Steam, I believe. I wonder if I can just do the $10 upgrade. Let me go
Well, mine
find
says
out.
it's the same for PC.
Okay.
I mean,
all right. Well.
Okay, so
Horizon-
yeah, so like I think it looks great for especially for my PlayStation owners. You know what I'm saying? I think it's a worthwhile $10. If I cared about that game whatsoever, I would definitely throw in that $10. But I fucking don't. Okay, Singer, go ahead.
all right, yeah, Horizon's pointless. I mean, it didn't really need it. Should have just remastered
Yep, it is
Alo's
$10.
personality. But I mean, the game looks good, but it's always looked good. So, I mean, hey, if that's your bag, like it. But I think it's pointless because the game already looks good. It doesn't need to look that much better.
I don't know. I definitely think that things can always look better. Shout out to Corey with the $20 dono. Appreciate you, my boy, saying been trying to listen, but work is working. We'll catch on the replay to a great rest of the show. Appreciate you, my boy. Please ignore that spiel in the middle where I am wishing death on people. It just slipped out. It just slipped out twice. All right. I didn't mean to say it, but those are my true feelings. So
But
that's
you
probably why
definitely
it
meant
came
it.
out. I definitely fucking meant it. 100%. I fucking hate bigots, dude. I fucking hate them. And again, to clarify, I'm talking specifically about people who are genuinely bigoted, right? People who make jokes about people offing themselves, right? Because they're trans. And there are some people on social media who were doing that shit. Those are the people where I'm like, how about you? You know? So I definitely meant it. Like, I don't take it back, but I should not have said it. Like, I know that. But I definitely fucking meant it. So anyway, moving on from that. I think it looks great. Okay, so Sony closes Firewalk Studio. RIP, RIP. We all saw this fucking coming. All right, we all fucking saw this coming. Matter of fact, can someone pull up the article, please? I'm gonna post it in the chat. It's the Verge article. If one of you could pull it up.
Singer, can you do it? Because I'm kind of tied up with something at the moment.
I got it.
Thank you, sir.
There you go.
All right. So Sony closes Concord Studios and permanently shuts down the game. All right. Firewalk Studios will be shutting down alongside mobile developer Neon Koi. All right. It's from Tom Warren. Okay. Sony is closing Firewalk Studios and the studio behind its PlayStation Concord game that it took offline last month after a disastrous launch. And a message to PlayStation staff, Herman Holtz, CEO of the PlayStation Studio Business Group, says Firewalk Studios will close alongside Neon Koi, a mobile game studio. The shutdowns will affect about 210 jobs, Bloomberg reports. So I do want to say this. I absolutely hate that people are losing their jobs, especially in this economy. It's the gaming industry is ass, dude. I'm sorry. Like, I would just never feel secure working in this industry. Like, there's just too many shutdowns, right? But that's the first thing I want to say. The second thing I want to say, this is not a fucking surprise, okay? That game launch was horrendous, all right? Like, and I feel like a lot, like for me, I remember when we first saw the game, and I was just like, maybe I'm just jaded, okay? Maybe everyone is just jaded. Maybe the game will be a lot of fun. It's not for me personally, but maybe it'll be okay. And then that shit ended up not being okay, dude. Like, it ended up not being okay whatsoever. But Singer, if you want to go ahead and keep reading, I'll be right back.
All right, so, and I quote from Holst, "We have spent considerable time these past few months exploring all our options. After much thought, we have determined the best path forward is to permanently sunset the game and close the studio. I want to thank all of Firewalk for their craftsmanship, creative spirit, and dedication." Holst says Concord didn't hit Sony's targets and the PlayStation Maker will, and I quote, "take the lessons from Concord and continue to advance our live service capabilities to deliver future growth in this area." Which basically means we fucked up and we're going to try again, even though this was Holst's baby and it was the future of PlayStation, according to Holst. And clearly, his future for PlayStation is not what the gaming community wants. So that was interesting. And to continue, Concord debuted on August the 21st, 3rd, on both PS5 and PC, but Sony took the game offline on September the 6th after poor sales. Estimates have put sales at under 25,000. And Concord only managed to hit an all-time peak of just 697 players on Steam, lower than the launch peak of Lord of the Rings Gollum. Now, which is absolutely hilarious how, like, Bleeding Edge lasted longer, Lawbreakers lasted longer. Like, to put how bad this game is in perspective, it's just how much of a colossal failure it is. And it's unfortunate for the Firewalk devs, but it is kind of, it's what you get for pushing out something that people clearly didn't want that you thought they would want. So, hey, as Fireworks tweet says, Firewalk is signing off one last time. Began with the idea of bringing the joy of multiplayer to a larger audience. Along the way, we assembled an incredible team who were able to navigate growing a new startup into a team during a global pandemic, and the rest is completely cut off. There we go. Firewalk was founded in 2018 and was very small for its first couple of years, only entering full production of Concord in 2022. Which checks out because they did say PlayStation didn't come on until 2022 or around that time. So that checks out. And clearly they had the design plans for it, and then Sony just gave them a whole bunch of money to help push it out, to make it quicker. And then so they tried to build a new customized next generation engine in Unreal 4 to 5. And I don't understand, like, how half of this they managed to pull off. But hey, shout out to them. I wish all the developers the best. It's just you picked the wrong time to release the game, or you just picked a terrible game. And
I don't think it's a terrible game. I mean, I put a lot of time into it. Let me see how many hours I put. Actually, it's no longer in my library and Steam to see how many hours I put into it. But I think I probably put about good, maybe like 30, 40 hours in the game. I was level 25, I think, or maybe a little bit higher. Maybe about level 30 at the most. But it was a fun hero shooter to play. It was certainly different than other hero shooters where, like you didn't have an ultimate, but you did have this the My Crew system that allowed you to borrow passive traits from other heroes that you played within a match and then apply them to another one of your crew. With your current character, and I thought that was a nice little wrinkle that kind of allowed people to have some strategy in how they went about playing the game. The problem is just you can't get people to understand that it's a decent hero shooter and a good time if they never play it. And I do think that there was definitely something to the reports of toxic positivity going on internally for them to be so tone deaf and completely miss the boat with how they marketed the game and how they displayed it. I'll go to from the very beginning. Its teaser trailer was a spaceship and a sandwich going warp drive. What is that? No one knows what that is. So what's the purpose of even putting that out there? You might as well just did a PlayStation blog announcement saying we're making a game called Concord, because you didn't even tell anybody what kind of game it was. And so for over a year, that's all that was known about that game. Then you do a state of play where the first thing you show is a narrative-driven trailer showing off these characters that look like rejects from Guardians of the Galaxy. And at no point do you tell the people what kind of game they're going to be playing. No one knows this after like a 3-minute trailer. No one knows what the heck they're looking at. And then immediately after that, you show a gameplay trailer that does what I have generally said is never a good idea for gameplay trailers, where it's a lot of quick cuts. And it's quick cutting from here to there. One guy gets shot and killed, quick cut someone to a completely different character playing a completely different way. And when it all was said and done and that trailer was over, the number of people who had a different idea of what this game was really highlighted to me how poorly they were marketing it. People thought it was Destiny, a Destiny kind of shooter.
Mm-hmm.
People thought it was Overwatch. People had named so many different games that were just first-person perspective. And it was all based upon a 2-second clip of that trailer where they saw combat that seemed similar to that. And that was the problem. You didn't show people the game. People would even believing when the blog said it was a hero shooter. And so it wasn't people realized it was a hero shooter until the beta came out. And then in the beta, because of your poor marketing, you didn't get enough people who are interested in hero shooters to try the game out and play it. Your characters weren't appealing. So when it comes to people who play hero shooters, whether you personally agree with it or not, what your personal preferences are have nothing to do with people who like hero shooters. The people who like hero shooters, they like to see characters that are real cool, look dope, look like something I want to play, look like you a real killer, or characters they feel are attractive. If you got neither of those, and you got a bunch of characters, I'll say it like this. When it comes to Overwatch, what does Blizzard market the most? Tracer, Widowmaker, Soldier 76,
Reaper,
Genji, get like those cool looking, or Mercy, those pretty or cool looking characters. They don't market Roadhog.
Nope.
Roadhog isn't marketed. But Roadhog's a great character. He's a great tank. But you don't know that until you start playing the game, because you actually got, drawn in by the other characters that are in the game. Then you go see Roadhog and find out, man, he might be the best. He might be the best tank in the game. But how did you find that out? You were playing the game to figure that out. If you got a whole roster full of Roadhogs, you got a failure. They may be good characters to play with, but ain't nobody gonna find out because the way that you designed the character was not appealing to them. This is why in hero shooters you see the failures, bleeding edge, no characters that people found appealing. Wasn't a bad game, didn't get a shot. You have to be able to draw people in. And part of that is making characters that you personally, the developer, may not find the right thing to make. I don't want to make characters like that. All right, well, you ain't making the game for you, stupid. You're making the game for other people. And you can still make the characters that you want to make, but you need to also make some characters that people actually want to see.
What people say, I like Cygnus in the chat. It's not gas games. It's just like if you're making a hero shooter, Overwatch is giving you the template, right? Just look at Overwatch and go, okay, what key aspects make Overwatch so popular? Okay, let's convert that. Like Valorant, right? Valorant, it took ideas from CSGO and Overwatch. Because they have never made a shooting game before. So they need a baseline for what they need to make. And they were like, okay, let's look at Overwatch. Let's pair it with CSGO combat. Because now you've differentiated yourself. Because the combat's kind of like CSGO, but CSGO doesn't have the abilities and ultimates of a hero shooter. But the gameplay is nowhere near like Overwatch. So now you're distinct your own game, because you're not like these other two games you took. You basically married the two games. And it's a roaring success because the characters are nice. Everyone likes the characters. There's some cool skins. The game is good. So it's perfect. Marvel Rivals took the Overwatch template. They added their own little spin with the whole combo thing. And they also have the added benefit that it's Marvel characters. And everyone loves their comic book characters. And when it comes to skins in the game, they can go through the entire comic catalog. Comics from back in the 80s, 90s, whatever, they could just release skins anytime they want. And so all these games are going to be successful, or are successful, because they've all seen the template and they've gone with it. Concord was like, we'll do our own thing, which other people have, but they didn't take the template of Overwatch. And we've seen how it turned out, because none of that. It's like, for one, you have a hero shooter without ultimates. I don't know what kind of decision that is. It explains why the maps are so small, because you couldn't have them. But, I mean, don't get me wrong. The actual mechanics of the game were good. But I don't want to play as soldier number 27. I want to play as super badass killer 93. You know? And I want some cool ass skins and some pretty women.
I have a question for you guys.
Go on.
At this point, like, should we be calling for the head of Herman Holtz? Mm-hmm.
No.
Look, man, when you out here saying this is, if it's true, it's kind of hearsay at this point, but the word is that he thought this was going to be Sony Star Wars. And in kind of circumstantial evidence, like there is this anthology that's coming out on Amazon. I think it's coming out next year. And it's like this animated series of short stories that are using popular IP in video games as this animated movie thing. Concord is in it. So it kind of does lend towards what they expected of this IP, that it would be popular enough that they would have it included in something like that. I think Herman has been the main reason why Horizon has been pushed so hard, because that comes from the studio that he used to run. And so for him, it's like pushing that is like pushing, it's furthering his legacy, so to speak. And I think that he definitely, depending like the amount of money that was spent on this studio and the game and the acquisition, they bought Firewalk like 2 years ago, and they've already shut the studio down, which I disagree with wholeheartedly. Whether as you can say Concord is dead and it's not worth bringing back, but to shut down the studio that you could at least turn into a support studio to help your other games, which are taking forever to come out, get made. Like, that's just a waste. Like, I think Herman's doing a poor job, me personally. And that some of this might be due to decisions that Jim Ryan had made, and maybe his hands were tied. But if you thought Concord was going to be epic and amazing, and it was going to have the kind of impact that you really wanted, like from PlayStation games as a service games, and it did. It is not just the worst PlayStation game in performance and sales ever, but it is up there just in general of all game releases that bad. How does anyone have any confidence in you? So I think he's on the hot seat. If Fair Games doesn't do great, if Marathon doesn't do great, I think he has to go. And frankly, Sony ain't Microsoft, where they allow people who don't get results like Matt Booty to stick around and get promotions. Like, nah, if those games don't hit, we're gonna have a new guy in that co-CEO position, in my opinion.
Thing is, it's like how much of it was Herman and how much it was Totoki, right? Because Totoki probably ran the number. He's the numbers guy, right? He basically told Bungie that they're great creators, but they don't know shit about business, right? He straight up just roasted them and said, "Fuck out of here with that." And he's the second.
Well, clearly he doesn't know much about business either. If he thought that fucking game was going to be successful.
Well, no. Herman Halstead. Totoki is the numbers guy. He's with the main Sony HQ.
But he just took over like a year ago. Like the money was spent on this game. The decisions that were made on it were made before Totoki got involved in PlayStation Studios.
Yeah, well, what I meant is Herman did the whole idea and project, yeah. But then when it came to actually getting rid of the studio, it might have been Totoki looked at the books and said, "The math ain't mathing, get rid of these fuckers." And then gave it to Herman to get rid of him. Because Totoki isn't coming at you and saying all these statements. He's behind the scenes. It's Herman out here. But I'm guaranteeing you, since he's the money guy, he's probably sat there like, okay, I'm looking at the books, and the books are telling me this. Here's the money. And it's like, so I'm pretty sure he might have been the one who told Herman, like, you're going to have to get rid of Firewalk. They got to go. So I don't know what the dynamic between the two of them is, because, it's kind of, one's the money guy, one's the creative studio director guy. It's like if you had Phil, Herman's like Phil, and then you had, I don't know, who's the Amy Hood is the person, she's like behind the scenes, like, well, the money says this and this and this and this, to sort it out. So I think that's what Totoki does. So I can't put it all on Herman, but I can put Concord on Herman, because he came out and said that's the future of PlayStation. Concord's the future of PlayStation. You heard it first, and this guy is going to give you more games that he thinks is the future of PlayStation. Could you trust someone who thinks Concord is the future of PlayStation? Could you trust that person to know what they're talking about?
Honestly, no.
Yeah, I'm gonna say, yeah, and I think that kind of like goes to how people may feel about having confidence in him going forward. And when I say people, I mean people at Sony leadership, people who are that Totoki has to speak to, investors. When you have when you listening on an investor call that you're invested in this company and they're like, Concord's about to launch, you saw what we did with Helldivers 2, you ain't seen nothing yet, and then you get this. Then I'm looking at when Herman, and to kind of I'm a borrow from the homie Jack move in the chat. When this big head Herman host shows up at an investors call again, talking about fair games, people are going to be like, but you said that about Concord. So, and Concord, we lost our shirt on Concord. So what's good? I don't know about you. And so I mean, just how many failures is it going to take for people to move on from him? I don't think he has. Don't think
You don't think he has the
his
juice?
reputation. I don't think his reputation can survive all those hits.
No, I don't either, because it's like you think Herman's claim to fame is obviously he was the head of Gorilla, right? So, and then he got promoted to the position. So it's like, yeah, okay, so you're a great game director, great game creative. You got pushed into this position, but it's telling that they made sure they had a second person behind Herman to share the spot with, because you can't have just one person there. No. We're going to make sure we have someone from Sony sharing it. Because Totoki is from Sony. He's not from PlayStation. He moved over. So it's like, yeah, he's not going to let Herman get away with the bullshit. And he's certainly not going to let Bungie get away with what they were getting away with. So it's going to be interesting now, because if Fair Games fucks up, I wouldn't be surprised if he goes, right, get rid of him too. Waste of money.
Yeah, I just think it's sad that at this day and age, like, they're spending so much fucking money on these games that it's like the game has to be a success, or and if it's not, it's over. Like the studio's like done, and it's like they wanted to go for the safe bet, like, oh, hero shooters are a safe bet. But the thing of it is, like, damn, not anymore. You know what I'm saying? Like, they already have the established hero shooters, like you were talking about, like Overwatch and stuff. So at this
Well, no,
point,
hero shooters are still a safe bet. Like Marvel Rivals it's basically Overwatch, but it's got Marvel characters.
yeah, but it has
But
Marvel characters,
well, yeah, and the fact they're not designed like rejects.
Mhm.
So
I think
it's
for
like,
any other hero shooter, it's not a safe bet.
well,
That's just my opinion at this point.
it's not a safe bet, because you also kind of have to rely on, is your game good? Also, who's the market for? Also, who makes the game, right?
They should someone said this. I don't remember. This is not my idea, but whoever idea it was, whoever said they should do like a hero shooter and have Sony's like IP be the characters, they were fucking spitting.
I mean, yeah, but they'd have to make sure. I mean, yeah, that would actually be a great idea, because they have plenty of IP to work with. But then it's
Mhm.
like, do they want to go through all that to do it? Which I think they should, because it's a better shot than what they're trying. Because they got a hit and then they got a loss. But I don't know. PlayStation's all over the place. I think they just need to get tips from Riot Games, because they can't put a foot wrong. Like they're like, we make a MOBA game. That's all we're known for. You can't make a first person shooter. Bet successful first person shooter. You can't make a card game. Bet successful card game. Then they're making a fighting game. Bet you that'll be successful. Why? Because they know exactly how to make games as a service popular, and they're popular. And of course, it helps if you go from Riot Games. Oh, I know them. They make a game I love. Sure, I'll try out their next game. I mean, yeah, crazy. Perhaps Sony should, actually leverage names instead of,
No,
generic
yeah,
soldier number 2.
I hear what you're saying. I definitely think that there was a lot of things that went into making that game not be successful. And again, I really feel for the people who were just working at the studio doing the best they could, man. Like that fucking sucks. And like those big time CEOs just right with their little golden parachutes. Man, that sucks, man. But it is what it is. And I feel for both of the studios that got shut down, the mobile game studio one as well. So
Mm-hmm.
okay,
And
so
the human toll for that, just real quick before you move on, 175 developers from Fair Games, and then like 25 to 30 developers at Neon Koi. So that's like 200 people lost their jobs. Neon Koi's game, I don't know if they ever got it out or not. But I mean, shout out to them. Hope they get a new position, and good luck out there.
Well, you know what's crazy about that Neon Koi thing? I was reading it, like, their game was gonna come out, and what makes it even more funny is that the investors call, Herman and the other guy said, Totoki said, we are looking to expand growth in the mobile segment. That's where PlayStation is looking to expand. Well, you just shut down a mobile developer making a mobile game. I don't know, whatever. Yeah, but despite saying you want to seek growth in mobile, but you're shutting your own studio down, whatever.
Yep.
Sony's a mess right now, and I think it's because I know what the problem is, and it's the problem with the AAA game industry now. The budgets are out of control, so you have people like Totoki. They have to come in and go, right, you are not spending 400 million on this game. Get the fuck out of here. You're spending 200 million. And you're not taking 8 years, you're taking 4 years. But then they're like, but the people expect this, so we need to do this. So it's now there's the thing where it's like, of course, more studios are going to get shut down because you're taking more money, more dev time, which means even more money. And if the game doesn't recoup the money, what, you think they're just going to sit there and go, oh, that's fine. You just lost us 200 million. It's fine. Fuck no. They're going to be like, hang on a minute, I got 200 million missing. Get out of here. So
maybe they shouldn't be spending so damn much in the first place. Have they considered that? Is that
well,
that
they can't stop. They can't stop because they're like, this is what the players expect. A big AAA blockbuster game. You know?
Yeah,
like,
well,
that's what people expect now. So
all right. So did anyone check out those previews for that Indiana Jones game?
I have not.
no.
All right, I'm gonna send it, and we can check it out together. Do you guys think this game will be a success? YN.
I mean,
YNM?
I'm gonna say no. I'm gonna say N.
I'm gonna say yeah.
I think, and this is no shade towards Machine Games, but I think me personally, the going first person with third person at like occasional action points or like going up a ladder, stuff like that. I think that's not how I would have preferred to play this kind of game. And if you think, oh, well, you just want Uncharted, well, okay, yeah. So what? Uncharted is a good series. So if that's the bones that you start from, how was that a problem? Like if I don't like the game design, I don't like it. Sorry. That said, I don't think that is make or break for it. I think what kind of what I believe the reason why it won't be all that successful is due to just the Indiana Jones IP not being all that like relevant in 2024 as it was at one point. Its heyday was literally 40 years ago. And that's not even like an exaggeration. It's an 80s movie series that bled into the 90s as well, and it was kind of dated as it was getting into the 90s. So you got you got an IP whose heyday was 40 years ago. That's a very specific demographic that's really heavily hyped for this kind of game. And I think the kind of larger audiences that would want to play something like this don't have the reverence that older gamers will have for Indy, the character. And without that, then you gotta rely on how good the game is. And Machine Games, really great at making first-person shooters. Wolfenstein, both those games are awesome. Wolfenstein Youngblood, not so much.
Wolfenstein 2 had some questionable moments, but yes.
Story-wise, yeah, really crazy. But I thought like it had enough good parts to overshadow that. That said,
I
it's
agree.
just
I love Wolfenstein 2. Sorry to interrupt, but TheAshenLuca comes from Terror Billy, so I'm just throwing that out there. But go ahead.
I think I don't know, like some studios are able to kind of go out of their wheelhouse and do a different kind of game and it work and execute on it well. I don't think many studios can do that, and I'm not sure Machine Games can do that. And so that's where there's a little uncertainty on that side, as well as how relevant the IP is. So there, I think it's more of a maybe, but I think I'm leaning more towards a no, just based on my own personal preferences as well.
I'm thinking it would be a success, despite it also coming to PlayStation, like not 6 months after. But I just think it'll sell because it's like successful. If they say it's successful for them, then okay, it's a success. But is it going to be a roaring success, like a 10 million seller? No. Do I think it would be successful to at least make back the money? Yeah, because I mean, then the Wolfenstein Machine Games is not a terrible development team, right? So they can at least make a game that plays well, and if you keep the whole Indiana thing, you might draw some people in. And bear in mind, a lot of the gamer audience is old now, for the most part. Like a lot of us, we're aging people. Like, so there's still a whole older, vast old majority of gamers. So I think he'll do. I think it'll do well. I think it'll be successful. It won't be a roaring success like a mega seller, but I think he'll, do well.
I feel like I definitely so there's the yes, there's the no. I'm gonna say maybe. I definitely hear what you're saying, Slomo. Indiana Jones is a very like I used to love Indiana Jones, but I loved Indiana Jones because of my grandpa. My grandpa's in his 70s, you know what I'm saying? So it's kind of like, okay, like
Mhm.
I can hear what you're saying with that, sure. But I think there's like people in maybe like their 40s and 50s that like Indiana Jones too, and who still game.
But how big
Yeah,
is that demographic?
I don't know. I don't
Is
know.
it big enough to make the game a success, though?
I don't know. I mean, success, like the metrics of success, are based on how much they're
E-
spending on this game. So
Exactly. So if they're spending like, I don't know, 100 million maximum, probably less than that, looking at the game, like, I think it can make that money back, especially since it's releasing on PlayStation as well. I think it'd
I
be
don't
a
know.
success.
I'll be the middle vote and say maybe, because I'm not sure either. But I definitely hear what you're saying on that slow mo for sure.
Yeah, I think it's got an uphill battle. I'm not saying it's like it's a guarantee. It's done, but I mean we've seen games that are good playing games or decent games that didn't financially meet the expectations that the publisher was looking for. We've seen that a few times already in just like the past year or so. So
Every
I
game
think
Square Enix releases, you mean?
yeah, but EA as well.
Yeah,
Ubisoft,
true. Mhm.
we see a number of different publishers have that problem, and when it comes to the Xbox platform, Hi-Fi Rush, quality game, yeah, didn't meet expectations. We closed down the studio, and then after the fact, haphazardly sold it to a different publisher. After a significant number of their staff went and found other jobs. Like it's just I do not think that it being a good game really matters in the grand scheme of things. Is it going to sell? And if it's not going to sell, It could be the best game in the freaking world. The end result is, people looking for jobs. So
Well, then
we'll see what
again,
happens,
it depends what level of success they deem as success, right? Because it's like Metaphor's Atlas's most successful game, and it's sold like what 1 million copies or whatever. Like, now if you look at that in the grand scheme of things, it's not like God of War or something that sold like 10 million plus, but it's still a success. Like, it'll only sell like 2 million, but that's a massive success for them. So if they look at Indiana Jones and go, well, our success metric is 2 million, let's say, just to put a number out there, I think that's an achievable number between PC, PlayStation, and Xbox. I mean,
All right, we will see. We will definitely see. All right,
You also got
so
to think about just real quick, Luca.
yeah, go ahead.
You also got to think about that this is a licensed IP with Disney, and we've seen similar contracts leaked out with Spider-Man and Sony for Disney IP. And sure, more than likely, Indiana Jones isn't expected, even on Disney's part, to sell like Spider-Man does. Two different IPs with two completely massively different successes, but Disney gonna want their money. So, like you gotta think about the fact that EA stopped messing with Disney exclusively because their contracts for Star Wars was always having them result in like these big massive AAA projects aren't worth it because how much we have to pay in licensing fees to Disney isn't offsetting how much money we're making off these games. And it's the reason why they try to focus so much on multiplayer, live service, reoccurring revenue beyond the launch of the games to kind of make that up, which is the reason why they focused on those things and then kind of like went back on it with the success of Respawn's Jedi, Fallen Order, and Survivor. But that's the problem. That's where the financials come into play. When you have a license deal with someone like Disney, they're gonna want their money, and they're not gonna want their money 3 years from now. They want their money on specific time periods in that contract, and you better deliver. And if you have to deliver that money to them and the game didn't sell enough to justify it, it's going to be a problem.
I think that's when a game matters if it's good or not, especially when it's a licensed IP, because it's a known thing, so people would be interested. But then, is it a good game on top of that? And then success rate, because if you're like, okay, I'm using this name which you've given me, so of course they have certain expectations probably written in the contract, like, well, we know how popular Spider-Man is, so we expect da 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 da. And so you now have to make a good game. Because if Spider-Man wasn't a good game, then they wouldn't have made the money that Disney were expecting, right? So I think that matters more. So I'd say Indiana Jones has to be more of a good game than if it was just some other named game. Because it has the license, it needs to be a good game.
Yeah, we'll see.
We shall see. All right, let's get these channel member topics and fucking skedaddle. Okay, so shout out to Imar bin Israel, who was here earlier, who said, man, was I waiting to bring this up as a topic? But if you guys already have it as your topic on a podcast, it's perfect. The Dragon Age Veilguard situation is crazy. As a fan of the games, I'm looking at all the sides, and it's both exhausting and exciting to see this anti-woke versus woke group fight over this game. As for the game itself, I already bought it and I will be playing it today. That was yesterday. I already made my character. The clips I've seen, though, especially from a fan favorite, have me worried. Well, Amar, you got to let me know how you're liking the game. I definitely think that there is cause for concern and critique for sure. But, you should also, I genuinely believe, like, if you are someone who is a fan of the franchise, give the game a shot. Just based on some of the gameplay elements we've seen, the the character creator it's in depth in some ways, not in depth in others. Like there's certain things where I'm like, where are my titties? But anyway, but like yeah, so stuff like that. And again, the story, like I said, I
Why
think
did you say it like that?
I don't know. I really like the Evanurus. I've always found the Evanurus to be quite interesting. Actually, there are several elements in Dragon Age that I find very interesting. The Evanurus being one of them, and then also anything going on with the Blight is very interesting to me. I will say this: I would have loved to have seen like the original story that they had, especially like I've been excited about the concept of going to Deventer for such a long time because that is such a like objectively nihilistic place in my opinion, where it's the
Hmm.
one place where being a mage is celebrated, right? And slavery is just like slavery and Teventer just go hand in hand, right? So for me, I had like such an idea, such a concept of what it would be like to play a Dragon Age game in Teventer and like how dark that could have been, right? And so far I'm like, oh, this is good, right? It's good so far. But it's just it's not what I would have wanted so far, but that could improve at the same time too. So, I am a big, big, big fan of the city elf route. That will always be my favorite route when it comes to Dragon Age. So just the concept of being a city elf in Teventer, I would have been like really interested in seeing that from a like more I guess more so like an origin perspective. Not fully an origin perspective, of course, but like, you know what I'm saying? Because I know there is like kind of that option with the Shadow Dragons, but it's just I don't know. I would have been interested in like I guess a darker beginning, I guess you could say. But again, I've always been interested in the Evanurus. So seeing Elganar and Gillenane, um, I'm very like the fact that they are blighted elves. I'm very curious about that. So learning more about especially like that. I mean, slight spoiler alert, I guess, but finding out from Solus that like the marks on your on the Dalish elves' faces that they have so much pride in, right? Where to the point where because they live separate from society and they live in the forest and they're connected with society, they're connected with their quote unquote ancestors, and like they have these markings to distinguish themselves from city elves who they look down upon. Finding out from Solus, like no, those are slave markings. That was their original intent. Was such a like wow, like what a way to shift the lore, like turn the lore on its head. You know what I'm saying? Like stuff like that. That shit was fire, man. Like I just would have been more interested in that story. But I'm perfect. Like again, the fact that they were able to come out with like a competent game after all of the downsides is such a I like give them their flowers on that at least. And I'm very curious to see where the story takes us and where it goes. Um, because again, I am interested in I think I do think it was smart to kind of shift away from the focus being solely on Solus and chasing him as the Dreadwolf, but having him still involved. I think all of that works out very well. I mean, what do you think, so?
I couldn't hear you say that last part again.
I said, what do you think?
No, before that.
I think having the focus shift from solely Solus was smart, but still having him involved in the plot works well, and shifting it to a more, I guess, more evil elves,
Yeah. I wonder when that decision was made, like in development, because I'm still like I said, 3 characters, still very early on, but I'm kind of on par in story wise on where all those 3 characters are. So I'm putting a lot of time in, but I'm not as far as you are. Maybe about halfway through the story from where you are, but it does seem like, Solus was built up at the end of Inquisition and in the Trespasser DLC as the big bad of the next game. Then you get into the next game and it's kind of an advert. It's like he's bad, but not really. It's these other guys you gotta worry about. And I wonder I do kind of wonder what the story would have been if they would have just continued on with that. Because my feeling about Solus in Veilguard is almost, and not like a retcon, but he's not as overtly racist as he was in the in Inquisition. He's not as uncaring in
The
regard
Inquisition
to
softened him.
yeah, okay. It's just he's not as like, you know, the ends justify the means kind of mentality, not really caring about anyone else but what the elves and where they're going kind of deal. And like all this information that he's saying now in Veilguard, I'm like, you could have told this to the Inquisitor. It's so much that I'm just kind of like, I'm still processing some of these conversations with him. I'm glad from how things are turning out, because initially when I found out that like he's really not like the big bad of the story, that I thought they were just going to pull like a 343 did with Cortana with the missteps in the Halo Guardians campaign, where Cortana's the big bad, and then they kind of just did a whole bunch of stuff in between games off screen, and then kind of wrote her out because they kind of, painted themselves into a corner they didn't know how to get out of. And I was concerned that would be the case, and it wasn't quite that. But so that's good. But I still think that I'm still kind of feeling my way around this. I do kind of want to know what the original story was, and I think more people will want to know that as they start to process what the current story is. Because if they beat this game, and people beat this game, and they're overall disappointed in where the direction the story went, it kind of reminds me of Alien 3. If you've seen Alien 3, which is not a good movie, and especially the disappointment coming off of Aliens, which is amazing. But then if you ever read the script that would have been, it makes it hurt even more. Because the script that would have been was fantastic. And it's just like, that's just kind of like, it kind of hurts a little bit more when you realize it could have been so much better.
Yeah, I for Solus, the thing with him is that there's a scene in which he's talking about Elgadar and Gillenane being evil, and your character is just like, as opposed to you, who were gonna kill tens and thousands of people, and he was like, well,
Well, yeah, they're worse than me.
Like,
I mean,
what
do you want? What do you want? You want me or you want them? It's just,
listen,
how about I want neither of you?
At least I would have felt bad, and there would have been a life afterwards. And I'm like, bro, be for fucking real. Like, this is his fault.
Yeah,
Gillenane are out because of him. All right, like, yes, we interrupted his ritual, but like, how are we supposed to know that there were worse out there? Because he didn't talk to any of us. Like, like, this is not our fucking fault. I don't blame us. I definitely don't fucking blame us. And like, whenever people are like, well, you guys left out there, I don't give a fuck. What were y'all doing to stop the Dread Wolf?
They say it like it was your choice. Like you knew the consequences and you were just like, nope, don't care. And it's not. He knew the consequences of what he was doing. It's crazy. Yeah. But then this is also, kind of like in BioWare's game design, not saying the writing here is on par with previous games, but the kind of like the beauty of it is the questions that come out of the story and how you have the ability to kind of be like, yeah, I'm not accepting responsibility for this. I'm not. Or you could be saying, yeah, we kind of screwed up here. Like you have the option to kind of do that. And even when you have like these conversations with Solus, this is, I guess, light spoilers. He remembers things you said in previous conversations. He'll bring it up to you. Kind of like, a dig at you. Oh, it's not easy as you thought it was going to be, huh? It's just like, hey, dickhead, shut up. But it's like I said, I'm enjoying it so far. So,
yeah, I really like that you can the banter you have with Solus, where he's like, "You should believe me," and then you're like, "Didn't you just call yourself the god of lies and trickery?"
Right.
What? Like, what are you talking about, man? But yeah, it's good, Amari. I'm looking forward to you sharing your thoughts once you're further in. But Just Call Me McGurk wants to talk about PlayStation director leaving to work on an Xbox game, the success of COD Black Ops 6, and PlayStation being in a questionable place financially and lacking creativity and imagination for new games. I think we kind of touched on that with the Herman Holtz conversation. They are definitely in a questionable place financially, but I don't know if they're lacking creativity and imagination for new games because we don't know what they're working on currently. You know what I'm saying? Like, we don't know what's
Mm-hmm.
going to be coming out from them. But financially, I mean, PlayStation's always looking a little spooky financially, but especially so after this Firewalk situation for sure. But Call of Duty Black Ops 6 has been extremely successful. I think you guys touched on that. Zoma?
I
Okay,
don't
well,
know what's going on audio wise. It's like Singer. Are you hearing every word she says?
Singer left.
Oh, my bad.
No, it's okay. It's okay. Can you hear me?
No. Let me drop out and then come back, and because
okay.
it's like
Can you guys
it seemed like.
No, go ahead, Slomo. Let me pull up my audio. I guess. Oh, my back is hurting. All right, hello.
Okay.
Is it me you're looking for?
Okay.
I see it in your eyes. Oh no.
It must have been my issue because I can hear you clearly now.
Oh, okay. Okay, but yeah, we talked about Call of Duty being successful.
Yeah.
Okay. And then PlayStation director leaving to work on an Xbox game. What was this?
That was so the lead creative director of Wolverine left Insomniac and is now creative director over on a creative director. I don't know like if he's the lead director, but he's working on Perfect Dark with the initiative and Crystal Dynamics now.
Oh, okay.
And
yeah, what are your thoughts on that? You think it's going to be successful?
I didn't like what I saw from Wolverine.
Oh, what did we see from Wolverine?
Well, we weren't supposed to see it, which is partially why I haven't really like gone in on it because it's like it wasn't like something they had prepared to show to us gamers. It's a lot of stuff that developers see, but from what I saw, like when it comes to implementation of certain mechanics, it was things that like I don't envision Wolverine doing, like climbing up sides of buildings and kind of doing the kind of like wall climbing, rock climbing kind of stuff that we see from like Nathan Drake. I think that's unnecessary, and that's just kind of the kind of stuff that you see in a lot of Sony first party games, but isn't necessary for a Wolverine game. There's like him like it appeared as if he was in a clip like hunting or stalking an enemy, but he's like walking on like rooftops and stuff, and I'm just like, all this verticality is unnecessary. That's fine for Spider-Man, which you've been making multiple Spider-Man games. Wolverine is a very different kind of character, and that was one of my concerns when although I was hyped for the Wolverine trailer they showed, my concern was that a lot of Insomniac's work and the reason why they've been able to come out with so many games so quickly is that they're able to fully adapt tools and game design they've already created for other games and then kind of refashion it and it work and be executed well for their newer games. And with Wolverine, it's such a very different kind of project that if you to do it right, you got to create a lot of newer stuff, and you can't just do that quickly. And I was hoping they weren't going to try to refashion things that just don't work for Wolverine or force Wolverine into doing things that don't make sense for Wolverine. And I saw that the combat looked fine. It's just all the other stuff outside that just made me go like, this ain't it. And so if from what was said, two sources that wanted to remain anonymous that were within Sony wanted, were familiar with the situation, said it was a creative differences issue, the reason why he left. So very possible they didn't like those things that I didn't like. I don't know, and they moved on to someone who could deliver better. So
What if
hopefully
he
that
was the
means
one who was like, "Wait a second, I don't like this verticality shit," right?
right. There's absolutely shot, and maybe any shot that we had to get like a very brutal, bloody Wolverine rated, like immature rated game is gone because the guy that was pushing for that got ousted. Like there's definitely a possibility of that. But I think also Perfect Dark looked really good at the June showcase and kind of made me feel like this game was closer to being out. But you still adding creative directors this late in the game makes me kind of feel like this game ain't coming out until like 2026 or something. So I don't know. Those are my thoughts on it. I just kind of
Yeah, I think they should take all the time that they need. I don't think this is like much of a I don't know. I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, right? I guess what we're really gonna have to wait and see the effect overall. Um, yeah, I mean, ultimately, that's like it's probably like a pay thing as well. They're probably like, hey, we'll give you some more. We'll give you more money if your talent comes over and works for us to make sure that this
yeah.
game is successful. So I wouldn't be surprised if
Also
that's the case
proximity
either.
as well. Insomniac is their main headquarters is in Burbank, California. Now I don't know the geography of California like that. But I also know that the initiative is in Santa Monica. So I don't know how far away they are from each other. But I imagine him going to work for the initiative doesn't mean he's got to like pick up his family and move. It might just mean, hey, I gotta take an hour drive to work instead of, it being right down the street. I don't know. But like I do think the close proximity, they're within the same state. So if they're both Southern Cal cities, then that might play a lot of into it, in addition to them, of course, paying them more money.
All right, sweet. And then real quick, I do want to touch on this. Call of Duty Black Ops 6 was the biggest Call of Duty release ever, setting new day one and opening weekend records as sales on PlayStation and Steam jumped 60% comparison to 2023 Modern Warfare 3. Game Pass also benefited from Call of Duty's release, setting a new record for the amount of subs in a single day. Call of Duty Black Ops 6 launched last week, saw strong concurrent numbers on Steam that outperformed Modern Warfare 2 and 3. And I will say this, I know a lot of people were concerned. I just dropped my phone. A lot of people were concerned about COD being on Game Pass. Me too, I think. I was like, I don't know if that's a good idea, but it seems like it worked out really well for them, and good for Microsoft on that, man. That was a good call on Satya's part, because since he's the he's the one who came out and was like, "Yeah, we did it, guys."
Mhm.
But yeah, so that was the show. Thank you guys so much for listening. I had to block a couple people at the beginning of the show because they kept spamming my fucking chat. Get out of my chat, all right? Get out of my fucking chat. It's me and the 60 people who show up here. Well, 40 to 60 people who show up here every week. Well, yeah, 40 to 60 people who show up here every week. And those are my regulars, okay? These new people coming in to cuck about, I'm not the one, all right? I'm not a nice person to people who are also not nice, okay? That's why I'm a big fan of people like Dexter, okay? That's why I'm a big fan of people. I mean, listen, Light is not a good person from Death Note. He's actually a horrible fucking person. But killing criminals, I'm all for that, man. You know what I'm saying? If you can prove that they actually did that shit. And depending on the severity of the crime, Light was just killing people at one point. You know what I'm saying? He's an egomaniac. Don't get me started. But anyway, shout out to Singer for being here. And Slomo, always appreciate hearing your thoughts, especially on this game that we're both so invested in. I can't wait for you to actually get to the part where I'm at, since you are taking your time and playing as 3 characters. Which gameplay do you prefer the most? And shout out to Meat Puppet, re-upping 44 months. Appreciate you, my guy.
I'm pleasantly surprised that I am enjoying the mage combat more than I thought the rogue combat would be what I would enjoy most, but rogue is second. The mage combat's first, and the warrior combat last. But I'm still fairly early on, and I have a plan based upon what I've seen with the skill trees to kind of see which skill tree that is going to work for me. and I'm building towards those skill trees for each one. But so far, yeah, mage is pretty dope.
Oh shit. Yeah, I think oh my goodness. I kept hitting my mic, sorry. I think I will okay, it really depends on how I feel about this game overall once I'm finished, because I have multiple playthroughs for all the games, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if I like it enough, I will go through it again. I'm gonna be a Kunari mage, okay? I'm gonna be a Kunari mage, all right? Because you know how the
Very
Kun
unique.
feels about them, right? I'm
Mm-hmm.
also gonna be. I'm gonna have those non-binary scars, okay? You know those trans scars. I'm gonna have them, okay? And my character is gonna be a trans guy, okay? I'm gonna choose that gender identity option. All right, that's what my next character will be if I end up playing it. I already made the character. He is fine as fuck too. Ooh, he is so good looking. Like that is my man. But anyway, thank you guys for hanging out with us. Shout out to all channel members. Shout out to people who show support and love by hanging out. Do I like Wolverine? I love Wolverine. Wolverine is great, True Bleed. Shout out to Corey and Meat Puppet. Shout out to everyone who's out on the show and weren't being cucks, even if you disagreed with me. I don't mind disagreements, just don't annoy me. That's all. Shout out to everyone who listens later if the stream is still up later. And that's not, they might hit me with that hate speech. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, all good, right? All good. But anyway, I will catch you. I know, Lionel. I will catch you guys later because that's what I do. I do a mix when I'm playing these games. You know what I'm saying? I like to be a little saucy. My first playthrough, I was a questioning inquisitor. Okay, I wasn't sure if I believed in the Herald of or being the Herald of Andraste. I wasn't sure if I believed in Andraste itself or the Chantry, right? Romance Josephine. And I was with the mages. I was a warrior, but I supported the mages, right? Second playthrough, I played as a Dalish elf. Okay.
Hey, Luca, I gotta run real quick.
Okay, see you later.
And then, all right, later. Great show, guys. I'm out.
Thank you. I played as a Dalish elf, okay, who romanced Cullen, a Templar. And I sided with the Templars, despite being a mage. An elven mage romancing a fucking Templar, bro. That was my second playthrough. My third playthrough, I played as a Chantry mage who subjugated the other mages, man. Like, it's just, I like to play different things and try different things and see different outcomes if the game has the options for it, because I find that kind of stuff interesting. And I romance Sarah on my third playthrough. So it is what it is. It's just about enjoying yourself and trying different things. But anyway, yeah, I already got my character set up. He's fine as fuck. He's so good looking. And yeah, I'm gonna make him a trans guy just because. But anyway, guys, I'll catch y'all later. All right, peace and love. Dragon Age 2 is the best Dragon Age. Yes, exactly, Ramon.